Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the July 17, 2019 regularly scheduled meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're delighted to have each of you with us tonight. At this time, I would ask that Ms. LaMagna review the procedures for tonight's meeting.
Good evening. Agendas are available in the front of the room on the table to my right. All of the exhibits pertaining to items on the agenda are posted on the bulletin board. Please feel free to view the exhibits at any time during tonight's meeting. You are required to fill out a yellow form to speak before the City Commission during the business meeting. The yellow forms are located next to Assistant City Clerk, Ms. Allison Brown. You must complete the sections that ask for your name, address, agenda item number, signature, and date. The form must be completed and placed in the designated box. Items on the agenda for first reading usually do not allow for public participation. However, there are some instances where citizens are allowed to speak on first reading items when they are considered public hearings. Items on the agenda for second reading are open for public hearing, and citizens may speak at the designated time. Resolutions under administrative item number 10 are open for public comments, and you may fill out a yellow speaker form to speak when that item is called. Item number 7 is your opportunity to address the City Commission concerning any item on the consent agenda. Please indicate on the yellow speaker sheet the agenda item number of the item or items you are addressing. Items or discussions not listed on the consent agenda will not be heard during this comment section. All citizens completing a yellow form will be allowed to speak for 2.5 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please speak clearly into the microphone and give your full name and address. The 2.5-minute clock on the monitor above and directly in front of you will start running when you begin to speak. Pay close attention to your time. You'll be told when your time has expired. Item number 13 is the public comment forum, and it will convene after the adjournment of the business meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to speak on any issue that is not on the business meeting agenda. All citizens completing the green form will be allowed to speak for 2.5 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please give your full name and address. Disorderly conduct in the public meeting of the City Commission. Article 2, Section 6238 of the City Code of Ordinances reads as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to behave in a riotous or disorderly manner in any public meeting of the City Commission or any committee, agency, or board thereof, or to cause any unnecessary disturbances therein by force, shouting, or any other action calculated to disrupt such meeting, or to refuse to obey any ruling of the presiding officer or such meeting relative to the orderly process thereof. Please be courteous and respectful of the views of others. Personal attacks on the City Commission, city staff, or members of the public are not allowed. Please silence cell phones and other wireless devices during the meeting. All conversation must take place either at the lectern or on the dais so that everyone can hear the business being discussed tonight.
Ms. LaMagna, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner Traeger?
Here.
Commissioner Delgado? Commissioner May?
Here.
Commissioner Gilliland?
Here.
Commissioner Henry?
Here.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry.
Here. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Traeger, followed by the prayer led by invocation led by Commissioner Henry. Prayer first.
We're going to do the prayer first.
Gracious Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to gather. We ask and pray that we meet in peace, that we do the business of the city. In your name and Christ Jesus' sake we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to excuse Commissioner Delgado.
Second.
I have a motion. We'll take a second from Commissioner Gilliland. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. This motion carries 7-0. 6-0.
Moving on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the June 19, 2019 City Commission meeting.
So moved.
We'll take a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner Gilliland. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. We'll now have our agenda approval, and if there are any changes, our city manager will address them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. We're going to add to tonight's agenda Bike Week sponsorship donations, $200 to Daytona Express and Track Field Club for a general donation, $250 to Daytona Gyms, $250 to Race Foundation for their second annual back-to-school bash. And in addition, we're going to pull item 10C from the agenda, and we have two items, 9A and 9B, that'll be continued tonight.
Motion to continue item 9A and 9B.
But we'll have to read those into the agenda.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Later on.
motion would be to approve
Agenda with
the changes.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner Reed. Any further questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to item number 6, which are our presentations. Tonight, we have the Beautification Awards for July 2019. A member of the Beautification Tree Advisory Board to present.
Mayor Henry, members of the City Commission, Mr. Chisholm. My name is Candy Schramm, 572 Crooked Stick Drive, Zone 4. The Beautification Tree Advisory Board has selected Mary Ann King, 773 Pelican Bay Drive, as the Residential Beautification Award winner for the month of July 2019. Mary Ann has been a resident of Daytona Beach for 33 years and has resided at this address for 16. Her home backs up to a waterway, so every landscaping idea was implemented to enjoy the view. Even though Pelican Bay is close to shopping in the Speedway, it's amazingly quiet with a large array of birds, including Mary Ann's favorite, the pink spoonbill. Mary Ann takes pride in maintaining the plants and working in her yard. Sean Wire is her go-to lawn and trim guy, plus he's a big help planting large items for her. The types of trees, shrubs, and plants used for beautification include Purple Laura petalum, a backyard consisting of boxwood hedges with a special flower bed that contains Mary Ann's grandmother's and mother's southern daylilies and bearded iris. And there is an elephant ear plant that is 15 years old and huge. Large pots surround the pool and the dock. Mary Ann's special find this year is a tropical lobster claw plant. It's amazing. The blooms look just like lobster claws. Also, orchids seem to thrive on her screened porch. City Commissioner Robert Gilliland, Zone 4, will be presenting the award. Yes, she's here.
Could you come up, please? There you go. So I resisted the urge to get into her backyard to check out the backyard because I drive by it every day. I live about 2 blocks away. So I actually might do it now that I know that there's something that has flowers that look like lobster claws because I can't imagine what that actually looks like. But it is a beautiful, beautiful yard. The varying heights, colors, and everything that you use are tremendous. It's always in fantastic shape. We'll have a bunch of rain and I'll be worried about my yard and yours still looks perfect. I'm not sure how you do that, but congratulations. But this certificate of achievement is maybe known. This certificate has been presented to Mary Ann King for Distinguished Achievement in Residential Beautification, City Daytona Beach, presented the 17th day of July, 2019, and it's signed by the Mayor, Derek Henry, and myself, your Commissioner, Rob Gilliland. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much.
And thank you, appreciate it.
Mayor Henry, members of the City Commission, and Mr. Chisholm. The Beautification Tree Advisory Board has selected Magnolia Manor Assisted Living, 252 Forest Lake Boulevard, as the commercial award winner for the month of July 2019. Sharon Montes is the administrator who assists in running the facility and is here to receive the award. Magnolia Manor is a senior assisted living facility and has been in the Daytona Beach area for 4 years. Louis and Lori Gerard are owners of the Magnolia Manor. They have other communities in Lakeland, Florida, and Georgia. The types of trees, shrubs, and plants used for beautification include rose bushes, palm trees, oak trees, crepe myrtles, Hawaiian tie, purple fountain grass, junipers, robolini palms, elephant ears, arboricola, and plumbago. Mayor Henry will be presenting the award.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for running such a first-class organization and operation. This certificate of achievement reads, "May it be known that this certificate has been presented to Magnolia Manor Assisted Living for distinguished achievement in commercial beautification, City of Daytona Beach." Signed by myself, the mayor, and your commissioner, Robert Gilliland.
We're very honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll now move on to item number 7, which is public comments by people addressing the City Commission. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the City Commission on any item on the consent agenda. I have one speaker, Mr. John Nicholson, speaking on item 8E.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granview Avenue. I understand that we want to improve the intersection of A1A. Apparently, we're going to tear it all back up in a few years, hopefully less than 5. I know 89,000 doesn't seem like a whole heck of a lot, but if there's no need, put a pile of sand or dirt, put the grass over it, put 1 or 2 trees and call it a day. I think it's a great deal of money, and considering what's coming down the pike, we should watch our pennies, because Volusia County's thinking of raising their taxes for things coming down, and I think we should watch and make sure that we don't caught behind like we did last time. Bye-bye.
That's a fair assessment.
That was my final speaker.
Okay, no further speakers. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, and we'll take a second from Commissioner Traeger. Is Commissioner Gilliland, did he just step out?
Speaking to Mr. Nicholson.
Oh, okay. I'm going to wait for him to come back so he can vote on the item.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes.
Regarding that area, so we took some time to clean it out. It looks better than it did before. I guess my question is, do you have any idea when? Any news yet? Maybe Commissioner Gilliland knows when we're expecting FDOT to do its thing. Where are they right now?
Oh, boy. Let's see, Dennis and the other editor.
Sorry.
So the timeline was that the design piece was about 2 years, and they're about 6 months into that now. Then there's a right-of-way acquisition, so it is 4 or 5 years out before we think it'll be done.
Okay, in terms of done and completed or done and starting? Just curious.
Done and completed. Like, it will, at that point, there won't be any more, the construction will be finished. They did have, when we went through, I mentioned at the last meeting, went through with the staff had asked for some enhancements that were negotiated through with, for example, moving the bike lane off the road and making a multi-use path on the south side. That did cause about a 2-month delay to work through all those things, but we got as many of those as we could. Mm-hmm. And by we, I mean the staff. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. Nobody's going to point you out there. Nope. She's going to punch me in the arm later for that. But it is right now. There are it is funded in the work program. We're going to need to piggyback on that for putting the utilities underground as they move a little further along. But it is, unfortunately, it's just a very long process, and we're looking at probably 4 or 5 years before it's finished.
And roughly to start, maybe 2 or less than that?
So it was, I believe it was 23 months was the design phase.
Okay.
Now, the right-of-way piece of that you get through the design and you end up with a plan that you can put before a judge to say, I have to take this person's private property. And the judge will say that they agree or they don't agree. The engineering is very solid, that's why it takes so long to get to that point. The judge, in all probability, will agree, and at that point, you begin the legal process of taking the property. That actually isn't as, you don't have to go through the fight with the property owner for, if they contest the purchase price, that actually gets resolved after the fact. But you do have to get through the court process to get the judge to approve the taking of whatever property is needed on the north side. I expect it, honestly, to break ground. We might see a little bit going down over there in maybe 2 years, but I think you won't see substantial construction for a minimum 2.5 years.
Thank you.
Great irony of all of that is that with the completion of the bridge, following the completion of the bridge, we'll go soon thereafter into this.
Right.
But, yeah, so, okay. All right, we have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. If there are no further questions, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are in opposition, same sign. The motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to item number 9, which is our public hearings. Item 9A is Development Administrative Services Planning Division, Integrated LPGA, rezoning to Plan Development General, and the preliminary plat. This was an ordinance on second reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 391.8 plus or minus acres of property generally located west of North Tomoka Farms Road, east of LPGA Boulevard, and north of West International Speedway Boulevard from SFR 5 Single Family Residential to PDG Plan Development General District. To execute the Integrated LPGA Plan District Agreement with American SW30 Investments LLC to develop a mixed residential development and approval of the Integrated LPGA Phase A1 preliminary plat, repealing ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. And on behalf of the applicant, this item was asked to be continued to the August 7th, 2019 City Commission meeting.
Motion to be continued until July 3rd at the applicant's request.
August 7th.
August
7th.
7th, sorry.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0, 6-0.
Moving on to item number 9B, it's the Development Administrative Services, American SW30 Investments, LLC, Integrated LPGA, Proportionate Fair Share Agreement, Resolution Public Hearing. A resolution approving the American SW30 Investments, LLC, Integrated LPGA, Proportionate Fair Share Agreement with American SW30 Investments, LLC, and the County of Volusia, providing for the proportionate fair share contribution by American SW30 Investments, LLC, relating to transportation facility concurrency for the American SW30 Investments, LLC, Integrated LPGA project generally located west of North Tomoka Farms Road and east of LPGA Boulevard, south and east of Municipal Stadium, and north of West International Speedway Boulevard, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement and providing an effective date. And on behalf of the applicant, this item has been asked to be continued to the August 7th, 2019.
Move to continue.
We have a motion to continue and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Mayor, if I could kind of throw in there that 5:30 presentation we had about this area and the roadway improvements, those were all county roads that presentation was talking about. And through this proportionate fair share process, it isn't much, but this is 1% of what they need to get everything done out there that they would like to do. But this will go into the bucket that the county will be able to use for what they think will be the investment that will have the biggest bang for the buck in that area to help address those roads that are over capacity.
Okay.
When it comes back and if it passes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 9C, it's the Public Works Latitude at Daytona Beach Phase 3A preliminary and final plat. This is a resolution quasi-judicial hearing. A resolution approving the amended preliminary and final plat for Latitude at Daytona Beach Phase 3A, a residential subdivision on 96.726 plus or minus acres of land located on the north side of LPGA Boulevard and west of Interstate 95, authorizing the city manager to sign the amended final plat and permit recordation thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent, and providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Commissioner Gilliland. Do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Reed. Do we have any speakers to this item?
I have Mr. Rob Merrill here for questions.
Okay. No questions for Mr. Merrill? Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
We'll now move on to item number 9D. It's a Public Works Department Technical Services Sweetheart Trail, South Beach Street, Bellevue Avenue to Marina Point Drive, right-of-way vacation and related approvals. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution authorizing several related transactions to provide for the westward shift of Beach Street near its intersection within South Street as part of the extension of the Sweetheart Trail, accepting a right-of-way deed from Race Coast Marine LLC for approximately 2,600 square feet of land located at the northwest corner of Beach Street and South Street, vacating approximately 4,700 square feet of Beach Street right-of-way adjoining the Race Coast property located at 645 South Beach Street, approving a quitclaim deed, conveying any remaining interest in the property vacated to Race Coast, approving an easement agreement with Race Coast for city temporary and permanent easements within the right-of-way vacated, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute documents related to this transaction, authorizing removal of a historic oak tree located at the northwest corner of Beach Street and South Street, and payment of $500 into the tree mitigation account, and providing an effective date.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Gilliland, a second from Commissioner Reed.
I have no speakers for this item, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no comments, no speakers? Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to item number 9E, it's the Utilities Department, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Clean Water State Revolving Loan, Adoption of 2016 Facilities Plan Update. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution of the City of Daytona Beach related to the State Revolving Fund Loan Programs, adopting a Facilities Plan Update for the West Side Regional Water Reclamation Facility Biosolids Dewatering Improvements Project, authorizing the submittal of adopted Facilities Plan Update to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and providing an effective date.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Gilliland and a second from Commissioner Henry.
I have no speakers for this item.
We have no speakers, no questions. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to item number 10, which is our administrative items. Item number 10A is the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division, 100 to 200 Block South Caroline Street, Small-Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. This is an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance adopting a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment in accordance with Section 163.3187 of Florida statutes, amending the future land use designation for 3.0 plus or minus acres of property generally located along and west of South Caroline Street, between International Speedway Boulevard and Orange Avenue, from commercial, retail, and commercial transition to level 2 residential, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Traeger. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
The public hearing is set for August 7th. Moving on to item number 10B, it's the Development and Administrative Services Redevelopment Division, 100 to 200 Block South Caroline Street, rezoning to redevelopment Midtown Residential Preservation, RDM 6. This is an ordinance on first reading. An ordinance amending the zoning map of the Land Development Code to rezone 3.0 plus or minus acres of property generally located along and west of South Caroline Street between International Speedway Boulevard and Orange Avenue from RDM 3, Redevelopment Midtown Activity Center Mixed Use, and RDM 5, Redevelopment Midtown Neighborhood Transition Mixed Use, to RDM 6, Redevelopment Midtown Residential Preservation, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Reed and a second by Commissioner Gilliland. Do we have any questions or comments? All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
The public hearing is set for August 7th. Moving on to item number 10, Item number 10C was pulled from the agenda tonight, so we're going to move on to item number 10D, which is the Budget Office Fiscal Year 2019-20 Proposed Tentative Millage Rate Resolution. A resolution authorizing the notification of the property appraiser for advertising purposes, the City of Daytona Beach Fiscal Year 2019-20 Proposed Tentative Operating Millage Rate of 6.2000, the current rolled back millage rate of 5.6880, the voted debt service millage rate of 0.2771, the first public hearing date of September 4th, 2019 on the tentative millage rate and proposed fiscal year 2019-2020 budget, and providing an effective date.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Gilliland and a second from Commissioner Henry.
I do have one speaker, Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
Mr. John Nicholson.
Mr. Mayor, can I give my tirade before we do that? We're not setting the millage rate. This is the not-to-exceed number. We'll set the millage rate in September. Two
Yes,
meetings
sir.
in September.
Yes.
So I don't think anybody here wants that millage rate. It's almost 10% increase. So this is just to meet a legal requirement.
You might want it, Jim.
That we're aware of. All of us are aware of that, but most people are not aware of the fact that you could decrease their taxes and call it an increase, which has happened to me in the past. And we've also had a huge increase. If you remember the rollback rate, was it 27% increase? I don't ever want to go through that. And I know we talked about a half-penny sales tax because there were things that were needed. To do a rollback rate, which is what you're probably going to do, because this is the maximum, may not be the time to do it. I know there are, 7 major projects on the beach side that are stalled at this point, 2 of which are outside the CRA area, which would have brought a tremendous amount of funds into the city. So I don't want us to sit there and say, well, we'll keep rollback, because there are needs. I remember when we skeletized the city departments, we didn't have police cars, we didn't have staff, we didn't have all kinds of things, because we did rollback for 7 years. So I want you to realize that we have to know there are needs that increase. And now that we're getting all this development, especially out west, if we have to have things done, please don't do rollback just for rollback. Thank you.
That was my only speaker, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any questions or comments from the commission? Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to item number 10E, it's the Development and Administrative Services Leisure Department Biketoberfest 2019 Private Property Master Plan Resolution. A resolution approving, subject to certain conditions, the Biketoberfest 2019 Master Plan for outside activities on private property and authorizing outside activities during Biketoberfest October 17th through October 20th, 2019, pursuant to the City Land Development Code, Section 5.4.C.11, temporary outside activities associated with the festival, rejecting certain applications for outside activities referenced in said master plan, and establishing conditions for all approved applications and uses, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Henry. We'll take a second from Commissioner Reed.
For the record, Commissioner Traeger has turned in the Form 8B, which is the Memorandum of Voting Conflict for county, municipal, and other local public officials. And her conflict is special private gain or loss if she owns property in the plan.
Okay.
And then
All
I
right.
do have several other speakers. I didn't know if you wanted to
Okay.
hear from
Yeah,
Mr.
we'll-
Guest first, or?
We'll hear from, let's go ahead and hear from Ms. Guest. Ms. Hurd, did you sign up for this item?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor Henry, members of the commission, Mr. Chisholm, city staff. My name is Thomas Guest. I am the chairman of the Biketoberfest Committee. I reside at 721 Garden Lane in Norman Beach, Florida, and I manage property at 608 to 618 Main Street in Daytona Beach. I know some of you, but I've been out of the loop for a while, so it's good to meet the rest of you. Biketoberfest Advisory Committee met with city staff to approve the master plan of private property on June 26, 2019, in the Chamber Boardroom. And first of all, I want to thank Jennifer Sims from the CVB, and I want to thank Rose Askew from the city for doing such a great job of putting this thing together and getting it to us a week before, because the past few years we've been getting it the day before. Anyways, we had much discussion and many questions were asked that were answered by Mr. Morris, Mrs. Askew, and other members of the city staff, police, code, planning. And the city presented 11 properties that were not in compliance for one reason or another. After, and I do have a list of those, you probably have it in your packets. After much discussion, we approved the master plan with the exception of those certain items that were not in compliance at the time. Since that time, most of those have been brought into compliance, and there was a memo that was sent to Mr. Chisholm, which you probably have in your packets, that there were 5 left that were not in compliance. Now, some of these are marginal, and there's going to be things presented on some of these things that will bring them into compliance, and they may have to go before the special magistrate to talk about it once they get all the documentation that they need. I know Second Avenue Plaza is probably going to present now. We would like, we would like you to approve the master plan is presented, with the exception of these properties, which can come into a compliance after this meeting. Right now, they're not in compliance, but exempting these, we would ask for your approval of the master plan. And if anybody has any questions, I will try to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Guest. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your work. Speakers that we have at this time?
Okay. Our first speaker is Teresa Doan, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Teresa Doan, 9 South Wald Olive.
I'm going to need to clarify that.
I'm speaking on the assumption that he didn't list those that were not approved, and that Beachside Auto Parts at 205 Main Street was one of those that is denied.
Okay.
So, I know the city is well-intentioned to ensure that all master plan participants are legally authorized to engage in the activities for which they seek a permit. I support this effort. New procedures are being applied in a way that is unfair to some stakeholders. The procedure substantially changes what has been required of applicants. The city has a legitimate interest to ensure that each permit applicant owns the property or has a valid lease to conduct business there. However, requiring a business who is a subtenant of the lessee to approach the owner of the property, with whom he may have no prior contact whatsoever, is unreasonable. The lessee is in possession and control of the property. The property owner has no standing. Beachside Auto Parts is a long-time, year-round subtenant in good standing. Beachside has submitted a notarized authorization from their lessee, and their application should not be denied on this basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah.
Mayor and Commission, I'm Jim Morris, Deputy City Manager, and let me speak to the question Mrs. Doan raised. This is Beachside Auto Parts that she referenced, the subtenant that she referenced. And in terms of the standards, we have a standard that the property owner authorizes the activity. So that's the property owner, not the tenant. So you've got the property owner, a tenant who's subleased to another tenant, and that's the person Mrs. Doan is speaking about. So I know that that subtenant has made a valiant effort to get authorization from the property owner who's elderly. And there's probably some misunderstanding between the property owner. The subtenant understands, and they're doing the best that they can to come to it. And Ms. Askew has worked with the folks to try and get the issue resolved. In respect to this particular one, if the commission could grant till Friday of this week for me to work with legal staff and then just look further at the documents, we'll try to find a resolution to that. In respect to the actual use of the property, and Ms. Dunn was correct in terms of the person operates the business, but for this issue of ownership and authorization from the owner, they would be qualified. And that is the limitation in that. But we have, as we started some time ago, to literally apply the standards that have been written, but perhaps not applied for a long time. That's where this property owner, this tenant, I'm sorry, has kind of gotten into a place that hopefully it can be resolved. And let me tell you how it could be resolved. The elderly property owner has refused to sign an authorization, is my understanding. But from the standpoint of the lease that would authorize the tenant to authorize the subtenant, there may be a remedy there, or there may be language in the leases. I have not had a chance to look at those. I would involve the legal department. They haven't had a chance to look at it either. And Mrs. Doan and I had a conversation outside about it, and it was discussed at the master plan meeting as well. And everyone is aware of the circumstance. What became more evident since the meeting is that the gentleman that owns the property is actually the record owner, thinks that he gave the property to his daughter. There's just some confusing stuff that doesn't bear discussion here. We will try to find a solution because I think in this particular situation, it works a hardship on this tenant who would otherwise be qualified. And we're not trying to keep people out. We're trying to keep people in and let them participate while still following the rules that we have. So if the commission, when it comes to the time, in respect to Beachside Auto, would allow until Friday for us to try and resolve that, or make it Monday of next week, please, and we can try to address it then if it's your wish to do that.
Why do we have to make it until Monday, or is it not possible for us to extend it to the...
You are the mayor
give you
and the
enough
commission.
time to
You can do what you
be
want and we'll follow.
successful? Because the one thing I don't want to do is, you don't want to, we want the rules followed, but we don't want to be overburdensome and onerous on folks who are trying to do things the right way and normally would be able to succeed. So what do we say, give them at least until the next meeting, and then...
Oh, whatever time you decide.
Yeah, we'll say the next meeting, if you tell us, give us some feedback on how it went and that sort of thing.
I gave a short timeline because we intend to expedite. That's the reason.
Well, I
for
would like to
timeline.
see it expedited, but I want to make sure you have the time to do what's necessary to be done.
That's a good suggestion.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
We should apply that to all of the applicants that were
Yes.
denied for that reason.
absolutely,
There's only one.
yeah.
There were, and I do want to
Two
clarify, I have
denied.
2 applicants that were denied for failure to have owner authorization.
So,
I have B-Side Auto Parts and Ocean Center at 605 Main Street.
Ocean Center's fine. Yeah. That can be the same for both.
Okay, all right. Do we need to amend that in the motion? or is
We'll
that-
need to take care of that in the motion. Before we do that, though, I've got
Still got Ms.
other
Hurd.
questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Mrs. Hurd.
You have other questions?
Well, in preparing the resolution based on staff's report to legal, I have 2 additional properties which were denied for code violations that presented an undue risk to health, safety, and welfare. That was Brooks Cleaners and Biker Clothing Company. So the recommendation was for denial for those 2. Mr. Guest may have a different list, and I want to make sure I've got the right list, which will be authorized in your resolution. Were there additional
I
properties
think
beyond
you
that?
actually have 504, not 777.
I have Biker Clothing Company at 504 Main Street.
There's a mix-up in the language, Bob. When you look at 504 Main Street, that's former Biker Design. 777 Main is former Biker Clothing. It's 504, which is the building that's damaged, and Brooks Cleaners, which is the other one.
What is
At
the appropriate
113.
address then for Biker Clothing Company?
504.
What street?
It's Main Street.
That's what I have, 504 Main Street.
Yes, sir. The name that you're referencing is the wrong name. That's all I'm saying.
It's not Biker Clothing Company?
Correct.
Okay, the correct name is?
Yes, sir.
What is?
Biker Design, formerly Biker Design.
Thank you. And are there any additional properties besides Biker Design and Brooks Clothing, or Brooks Cleaners, rather?
Not in that category. Mrs. Hurd is yet to come before the commission and make her presentation, and I will reply to that when she comes up, if it's permissible, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Otherwise, I think that matter's taken care of.
I have 4 total properties then.
Mrs. Hurd would be number 4.
I have 4 total at this point. I don't know what Ms. Hurd will add
Okay.
to the discussion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor?
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. We'll
Our
proceed.
next speaker is Patricia Hurd. Sorry, John.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm here because of information concerning Biketoberfest. The only thing I can say is that I was late. I did not realize I was late. The check is still being held. I met all guidelines and everything. And the only thing I'm saying, this is the first time after maybe 30 years I've been doing this that I have been late or anything, okay? So that's all I have to say, that I'm looking forward to seeing the people on the avenue, making sure my police department has nice restrooms to go to, and do everything that is necessary, lighting, whatever case might be, only one on the avenue with bright lights, and I was just late. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You want to stay with me for a minute?
Yes, sir.
May I have the mic from you a little bit? Commissioner Jim Morris, Deputy City Manager. Mrs. Hurd is right. She was late. The rules wouldn't permit us to approve her because she was late. She's aware of that. What she didn't get to as she was speaking to you is that she would like for you to waive her tardiness and be able to participate.
You're right.
We have no objection if the commission elects to do that. It's within the power of the commission to do it.
Okay, is there anyone else who was late?
No, sir.
She's the only one who was late? Okay, so it wouldn't warrant that we make it permissible that all others who were late be included or excluded because they were late?
Yes, sir, that'd be my concern.
There were no others that were late. We've been through this extensively, and as you might imagine, we've reviewed Mrs. Hurd extensively. So,
If there perhaps would be additional late submissions and they would like to present at the next commission meeting, you would entertain that?
So we're talking about almost complying versus missing by a mile. It's a whole different thing. All the review process is finished.
We try not to be arbitrary in applying the rules, and so almost is a relative term.
You know that.
Right, I do.
Yep, you do. Okay,
almost
well,
made
we'll just, it's not just my choice, but I'm agreeable. It would mean that we would have to wait, really.
Well, you could just extend the deadline until next meeting to submit late applications.
Hers is finished. She's done. She did it.
Okay.
Everything has been turned in.
Bob's talking about everybody else out there that might.
That's what I know.
The deadline came and went and they didn't apply because they didn't know they might get an exception. Those are the people that can turn around and sue us because they want to participate because we changed the rules.
Be on time next.
What did we do with Bethune-Cookman a couple years ago when they applied late? Did we eventually approve them, or did they go to special magistrate, or? I don't recall what happened with that one. I think it was that there was a gentleman over there that was out with an illness, I think, that normally would have been the one that would apply. I think we granted it, I think we allowed them.
We approved it, I know that.
Yeah. I mean, so I think there is a precedent of us allowing a late applicant or application. I mean, there was an extenuating circumstance there that there was a significant illness that prevented him from performing his job responsibilities, but,
Well, I'm agreeable to, making this accommodation on this occasion. If the remaining members of you all are, we have no objection. Making the accommodation
All
that
right,
she's
see,
requested.
shouldn't have gone there. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But how do we make an exception to someone who's everyone? Well, that's up, I mean, how do we, we don't have any other way. So if you guys are not agreeable.
Are there others who you think would come forward?
There are none that we know of. Human nature is unpredictable.
Yes.
What I would say, if you are going to do that, you could make it the most reasonable, shortest time possible for the
Right.
extension.
I say Friday.
Oh, okay.
Friday?
Is that,
Well-
that's agreeable? Okay.
Mr. Borders, what would the process be if you got an application now? Well,
Sorry?
what's the review process if you got an application from somebody tomorrow?
Well, it would be what I alluded to when I spoke to the city attorney, which is, it would be reviewed, it would be singular, but you've got the involvement of the CVB in the instance of Biketoberfest. You got city staff, and when Mr. Guest was speaking, we had 9 staff members at the review meeting. I think CVB probably had 15, 18 people there. So it would be the same process, whether we'd have that number of participation. I would say no. But from the perspective of review, we'd review to see if it complied and met the various standards other than timely filing. And Mrs. Hurd met the standards other than timely filing. And the situation that you see here, it creates a problem because she otherwise would expect to be in it. And it's a tough thing for her to accept. I understand that we don't have the power to waive the application deadline, the commission does. And that's why Mrs. Hurd is here. And so that's just really where we're at.
How late was the application?
2 days,
2 days?
I'm looking for Rose.
3 days.
How late?
It was 2 days.
I'll accept Mrs. Hurd's representation.
We say it was 2 days late?
2 days.
Okay, well, okay. I'm agreeable to accepting it, the application as it stands, and accept anyone else's up until Friday. And, you know, in an effort to be fair, I mean, I know we don't want a bunch more applications, but, you know, if they presented
Understood.
you one by Friday and it's reasonable, why should they be?
We will treat them the same as if they were on time.
Exactly.
Friday at 5 p.m. or noon?
Friday at 5, the close of business.
I just want to be sure, Mrs. Hurd?
So who do I get
Ms.
in
Hurd,
touch
Ms.
with?
Mrs. Hurd, you were late. You were late, is that correct? L-A-T-E, late. Okay, sorry, just wanted to clear it up. Okay, just wanted to clear it up, sorry. Just wanted to hear you say it, that's all.
I know.
L-A-T-E.
Just joking, I'm just teasing you. I'm not going to forget that.
You have to bother her on the
Oh, I want to
occasion
write down
that
the
you
date.
can. Okay. Do you have a question, Mr. Guest? Or-
Yes, Mr. Mayor, might I speak for just a moment? I agree she needs to be accepted in this, absolutely, but that's not what I have in question. If other people make applications now, it's going to make a lot of work for the CVB and city staff, and according to guidelines, we're going to have another meeting of the Biketoberfest Development Committee to approve whatever comes in. So it's going to be a very lengthy and very unnerving and overbearing situation if we extend this to any more people. Hers was just 2 days late, you know, and that was a couple of months ago. So if anybody wants to apply now, they're a couple of months late. I don't agree with having anybody else apply for it.
Yeah,
It's just-
I don't agree with it either technically, but legally, this is the position that we find ourselves in.
Okay.
And we have to operate
Well,
within.
give them 2 days.
That's what we.
That's
All
2
right,
days?
They got
She
2
was only
days.
2 days late, so give them 2 days.
They got 2 days.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what they got. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor. Mrs. Hurd, by this action, you are in.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And as usual, I'll be there to do what I can for the police department and anyone else on the avenue. Without me, it won't work.
Well, Ms. Hurd, Ms. Hurd,
Hurd?
Let's have some credit.
we just want to make sure that you do know that you get a little more ribbing from all of us going forward. You rib us quite a bit, so we will. Thank you very much. We look forward to a great
And
fight week.
please stop by. I might have an old Midtown shirt to give you with all the businesses back there 20 years ago. 40.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And might I add, Mrs. Hurd, late Mrs. Hurd, that I think we're showing favoritism because you are one of our citizens that comes regularly.
30 years.
You do participate. You participated for 30 years, and we do appreciate
30
that.
years.
Thank
Now,
you.
let's not be late next year.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Anyone else?
Oh, it's coming. Oh, no.
Ms. Hurd, could you give me your address, please, so that I make proper
Which
reference?
address would you like?
The one that's referencing your application.
560 Dr.
I'm sorry?
Mary McLeod,
Oh,
Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard,
Thank you. Got it.
Daytona Beach, Florida, 32114.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do have one additional speaker tonight, Mr. John Nicholson. And thank you, John, for letting me take the applicant
Not a
first.
problem. Ladies first. John Nicholson, 413 North Granby Avenue. I want to thank you very much for doing this. It's one of my pet peeves. You corrected the other one, stores that were not open, technically. So now we're going after the ones that are not in compliance in terms of why we did this in the first place. We obeyed a lot of our rules and regulations so that this could be a very successful event. In reply, the business owners are supposed to maintain their properties. You doing that, for which I want to thank you very much. I'm glad you teased Ms. Hurd. I would have asked you to give her a fine, but I won't. And secondly, Beachside Auto has been around forever. I would have asked you to give them a fine of maintaining their property in the front, that grassy area right on the corner with all the trash in it and whatnot. Hold back their permit until they clean up the property. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was my final speaker on this item.
Okay, we have,
Can I get a recap of what we're doing? Because I think, literally, I think so. So Brooks Cleaner is out, Biker Design is out, Beachside Auto Parts
Possibly in.
is possibly in if they get the documentation. So are we going to extend them until our next meeting? Or are we going to say, provided they get the approval of the city attorney, that they meet the,
There's a simple solution.
Okay,
and
what's the
there's
simple one?
And there's a complicated motion. The simple solution would be to continue the whole thing till next meeting. Or we can go through a complicated motion to,
Respectfully, you've got a lot of people here for this.
okay.
And you've got items that are relatively minor once the commission has addressed them. And I think that we can address it
All right.
in that form.
Let's try this in a single motion then.
okay, so that's number 3. I understand Mrs. Hurd, so I can get through that one. And then the Ocean Center with Polaris, what,
It's an authorization from the Ocean Center to allow Polaris to use their property for static display.
am I the motion on this?
Good question.
I'm hoping not.
I don't know who the
Actually, it was Henry and Reed.
Oh, good. Well, I guess anybody can amend the motion. Well, the amendment is, we got to talk about each of the 5. Oh, no. So we're not going to do anything to amend motion related to Brooks or Biker Design.
The motion will have to include exclusion of those. Do you want me, I can try to walk us through this if you'd like.
Yes, please.
All right, so I would suggest, motion to approve the submitted applications, including Ms. Hurd's, but accepting 4 properties. Beachside Auto Parts at 205 Main Street, Ocean Center at 605 Main Street, subject to an extension to obtain owner authorization until August 7th. I believe that's our next meeting. In addition, the motion will include exclusion of Brooks Cleaners at 133 Main Street and Biker Design at 504 Main Street. And there was one more exception. Then we're going to allow additional applications up until Friday, 7/19, for late submittals.
And then Ocean Center.
We thought we covered that one. That one will be that's requiring additional approval by the owner, so that was included in the motion. Did I?
So now I need to.
Yes.
Got to say exactly what he said.
Don't say what he said.
Just,
I second
Without
what
any
he said.
notes.
yes, I wish I could say that again.
I'm in my second to what the attorney
Okay.
said.
Okay. Okay, we have a
Thank you, Mayor.
amended motion, and we have a amended second. Do we have any other questions or comments? Some things are, okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. 5-0, yes, because she was abstained. All right.
Moving on to item 10F, it's the Development Administrative Services Cultural Services Department Bike Week 2019 Public Property Master Plan Resolution. A resolution relating to Biketoberfest 2019 from October 17th through October 20th, 2019, providing for certain parking and traffic uses and regulations, suspending parking regulations in the commercial areas of the Controlled Parking District from October 17th through October 20th, 2019, in accordance with Section 94218D of the City Code, authorizing the city to operate paid parking lots at various locations in the Main Street area, authorizing various activities on public property, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Gilliland and a second from Commissioner Traeger.
I have no speakers on this item.
Do we have any questions or comments from the commission? Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to item number 10G, it's the Development Administrative Services Amendment to the Master Agreement for LPGA International Golf Course Resolution. A resolution approving the amended and restated Master Agreement for the LPGA International Golf Course Facility between the City, Ladies Professional Golf Association, Consolidated Tomoka Land Company, Indigo Development LLC, and Indigo International LLC to include certain provisions relating to assignment to a purchaser of LPGA golf course for a per-round surcharge payments to the city as required by the Declaration of Restrictive Covenants on the LPGA golf course property, establishing the LPGA's continued privileges with regard to the LPGA golf course and LPGA headquarters property, releasing certain deed restrictions on the use of the LPGA headquarters property, clarifying certain other rights of the parties under the master agreement, approving a memorandum of understanding concerning the city's reuse water rates, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement and the memorandum of understanding, repealing all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Now we have some
I
speakers.
do have speakers. Our first speaker is Skip Hammers, and on deck is Mark McCommon. Okay, then our next speaker is Mark McCommon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I have been a resident of Volusia County for about 15 years and have lived in LPGA and been a resident there for 12 years and a golf course member for at least 10 years. I currently am the chairman of the golf committee in relation to LPGA. And this sale concerns me as both a homeowner and as a resident. The fact that we have a company coming in that has minimal experience in this business. They've only actually existed for, I believe, about 7 years. Actually, I think 2014 is when they first entered the U.S. They are foreign owned by a Chinese family that, to my knowledge, is unnamed. And the concern that the members have, who have, many of you are friends of mine and I've spoken to, and homeowners, is that if they don't take good care of this golf course and not just maintain it but improve it because of the deterioration that has been caused by CTLC's unwillingness to spend money there for many years, we will lose tournaments, we will lose play, and the values of all our homes could be reduced because of that. I don't feel that CTLC has given our local prospective purchasers the opportunity to really step up and improve this place. They had the expectation to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars immediately and millions of dollars over time to make LPGA golf course really a gem that it could be. Today, irrespective of what the article in the paper said on Sunday when it was commented by an officer of Consolidated Tomoka, it is not by any stretch of the imagination in tournament condition. All of the sand traps are in serious need of repair and expense, and there is very little that can be done without spending a lot of money, and there is concern about their willingness to do that. So I would ask the commission to rethink accepting this and accepting a company that has little experience in this business or little experience in this market, and it has no interest in helping the local community.
Thank you. We'll go back and Skip came back in.
Our next speaker is Mr. Skip Hammers.
My name's Skip Hammers. I'm from LPGA. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association at Lions Park. I live at 19 Promenade. You know, I want to voice my concerns. I've lived there for 12 years, and this pending sale of LPGA International is really a fear of the unknown. We don't really know C. Biggs. We've seen what out-of-town ownership of golf courses can lead to. I mean, the perfect example is Indigo. I would hate to be a resident of Indigo. You know, some residents and club members at our club, we know the local investors. We play golf with them. We've been involved with them with community events. They're active in our community. They're staples in this community. And one of the truly successful golf operations here in our area is Riviera Golf Course. Rob and I played there.
It's local owned.
It's a great golf course. They're owned by the Myers family 50 years. It's not an out-of-town company. They're a staple in the community. You know, Consolidate Tomoka, I mean, they can sell this property to anybody they want to. You know, as a homeowner there, you know, I hope that whoever they decide that they're going to sell it to, that the city is going to partner up with the taxpayers. We are the taxpayers. We have an interest. You know, I hope the city does their due diligence, eliminates any risk to the homeowners, protects our property values. You know, this isn't, I don't think this is an item that has to be really rushed. I think it's something that needs to be really put some time and effort into. You know, we also hope that, you know, we'll make the appropriate benchmarks, you know, that the owners will see benefits from the city and the property values of the people who live at LPGA get a direct reflection of the quality and the standards of that facility, because that facility constitutes that neighborhood. I mean, it really does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was my final speaker, Mr. Mayor.
I have some concerns about this. First of all, in 2017, when we allowed Consolidated Tomoka to take our part for only the amount that we would have gotten in rental over so many years, I believe it was 1.7 plus some property, plus some green fees of $1 around, going up to, I think, $700,000. Now they want to sell it for $3.6 million. I believe that when the first contract was through, that if it went over $4 million, the city would get a 10% cut or 10% bonus, because it did. Now, this is barely 2 years later, and they want to make double their profit. I'm concerned also what they said about, I read in the paper that there were a couple of local people who wanted to do it. I don't know how much difference that is, but I don't see any reason in rushing this either, because we just found out about this by way of the News Journal, maybe, a week ago or so. But I imagine whoever would take it over would still owe the city $1 per round up to $700,000, but it's not quite that now because they did pay some. But I do not feel any reason this should hurry. They were supposed to put some money into one golf course, and whoever gets it, I would like that there be a amendment or something that they cannot just go ahead and abandon it and use it for development, because I have a sneaking suspicion that part of it will end up being developed, and not as a golf course, but as homes. I would like to have this continued if we could, because I don't think there's been enough delving into it, and I would like to hear from the local people. I would like to make a motion to the effect that we continue this.
I have a question before, I'll second it, but, yeah, I'll second it. I want to continue that conversation, if I may. My question is, once purchased, or once the transition occurs, I recognize that we get what we're owed, number one, but the other part is, what can they do with it? As the new owner comes in, what are their rights in ownership?
So we're not privy to the deed that will be transmitted between Indigo, the current owner, and the new buyer. So we don't know whether or not there'll be any deed restrictions in that deed. I can tell you that the deed that the city provided to Indigo International, which is a subsidiary of Consolidated DeMoca, did not have any deed restrictions in it. And so from the city's perspective, there's no legal requirement that it would continue to be operated as a golf course. They may have that deed restriction moving forward with the new owner. I'm not aware of it.
So the city is in fact out of that negotiation, it's private property?
The city has sold its interest entirely, yes.
So it's private property, two owners deciding what they'd like to do? Correct. That's good to know. All right,
Correct.
thank you.
And I do believe there are some representatives from the parties here tonight if you have questions.
Okay.
Bob, could you just clarify one thing? What's before us is not approving the sale, it's approving the three-party agreement, changes to the three-party agreement, which was consolidated, the city, and the LPGA Tour. I spoke with somebody from the tour today, and they indicated they could live with this agreement, with these modifications. They are actually getting some things that they did not previously have through this agreement. What's before us, and I gotta be honest, I know the local guys who were trying to buy it, and I was praying to God that they were going to get it. But, in the end, it came down to, you're selling your house, and somebody offers you more, substantially more. I think it's about 40% more. Are you going to sell it to your buddy and eat the 40%, or are you going to sell the house? And trust me, I wish there was something where I thought we could legally interject ourselves into the sale of this. But ultimately, I think if we did something to try and prevent the modification of the three-party agreement, what happens is Consolidated cuts the maintenance budget in half, and it turns into something, not Indigo, but something along those lines. They have that right. They're losing money on the place and always have. So, I wish I could come up with something. I've had 20 phone calls on this. The article in the paper was a very poor representation of the deal. Ultimately, as the owners, we were responsible for replacing the greens on the Jones course. It was, they said 300,000. I think it was more than that. We got land out of it. We got $1.5 million plus another 700,000 over time, and ultimately, we didn't own it. They own all the food and beverage business. They own the banquet business. All we owned was, of the facilities out there, the structures was Malcolm's, because that used to be the pro shop. So, if somebody knows of something that I don't, I have not yet found anybody who thinks that we have some legal standing to force Consolidated to keep it and maintain it at a higher condition than it is. Nobody's come forward to me and said that something like that exists.
So then the only thing we're really dealing with is making sure that we get that transfer and we continue whatever we're owed. Is that correct? That's what we're dealing with right now. There's nothing we can do to help in this situation or consider. There's really nothing. It's just what's before us.
We don't have to accept the the terms of the sale, though, because it's a
Well,
contingent.
it's the amendment of the three-party agreement. There are 4 things that are being asked for, and we don't have to accept that. We could vote it down, and that would kill the deal. And then we don't know what Consolidated would do. We already had a speaker up here saying that they don't think Consolidated is taking care of the course now. You kill their deal, what do you think they're going to do? You know, they've been good partners of the city in a lot of projects, but when they've got a non-performing asset out there, I don't know what they're going to do, you know, if we kill their deal. I just don't.
Well, I would hope that they would do as we both have done. This is a vital asset in the community. And so I'm not going to speculate. I don't want to speculate on what they would do, but the tone of that just doesn't resonate well with me because, you know, going forward, we both have tried to partner with one another. And I think the community, you know, and didn't mean to cut you off, but that just kind of struck a nerve with me, just the thought of them having that attitude. And I don't want to speak
I'm not
to
saying they
that.
have that attitude. I don't know what they would do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what scares me about the whole thing, because we all saw the financials when we sold the part they had gifted to us, when we sold it back to them. We looked at the financials, and it was bad. You know, the local group that was looking at doing this, they were trying to figure out how to break even, you know, and that was a struggle. You know, I believe they started at a higher purchase price and were kind of negotiating it down to something that they thought that they could, you know, might be able to not lose money annually, probably lose money the first year or two, but try and get to a point where they would at least break even. You know, but those folks are completely invested here, and they are trying to do everything they can, or they were, to keep that golf course, you know, keep them open, keep them, you know, improve them. You know, it would have been a much better situation for the city, for the people who live in LPGA. But, I mean, what we're being asked to do are make these 4 modifications to the three-party agreement. We're not being asked to approve the sale. That's not within our purview here. So, and Bob, am I?
No, that's accurate. This is actually amending a 1990 master development agreement. And so the intent of this amended and restated master plan is really to clarify the rights of all the parties involved in that original master development agreement, LPGA being a primary party to that, of course. So this isn't to approve the sale, it's really to identify the rights of the parties that are involved with the property. As it relates to the city, the primary result will be that you'll assign the per-round surcharge to the new purchaser, CBIG. In addition, you'll be releasing some old deed restrictions for the headquarters property, which is a 1995 deed, which are now superfluous because they've continued to use it for the headquarters for the required time, and it eliminates some approvals for future plans, all of which are not necessary at this point, considering we've sold the property. And beyond that, it just establishes that we'll charge our customary rates to the new buyer. So that's the only impact, if you will, to the city. The remaining parts of the agreement deal with the rights of LPGA and Consolidated Tomoka, you know, continuing on in the property.
All right.
Well, I don't think in 2 years it's good for them to make over double profit. And if that deal falls through, maybe our local guys will have a chance to pick it up. And I much more trust our local guys than I do somebody we don't know anything about.
Is there representation from either
Consolidated
Tomoka or CBIG here this evening?
I believe so.
I'd like to hear from you all.
I mean, well, come on.
Somebody come.
I wasn't sure whether the mayor was thinking about that.
Well, yeah.
Hi, everybody. Teresa Thornton Hill. I'm Associate General Counsel for Consolidated Tomoka.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor, City Commission. Scott Bullock, Consolidated Tomoka, 1140 North Williamson Boulevard, Suite 140. Just wanted to introduce our potential future buyer. We appreciate everything that's said and the concerns that are raised. I do agree that there's been some misconception about the profit that was reported in the paper. The property that was acquired in the sale 2 years ago was only a portion of what is being transacted, so the difference is not pure profit. It's not. We have proven, as some people have stated, Consolidated is not the best golf course operator in the world. We have a stake in this as well. We still own quite a bit of property around this. We have a vested interest to make sure this asset is raised to a level of standard that I think everybody here wants. So our interests are aligned. We feel we did make a genuine effort to work with the local buyers, and we unfortunately didn't come to a conclusion that perfected a sale. So we have explored other opportunities. We have representatives here from the buyer that can speak to their credibility, their background, their experience. This is what they do. And so I'll turn it over to Dale. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Dale Palmer. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Seabig Management, which is a subsidiary of Seabongs International Golf Group, the potential purchaser of LPGA International. I'm really here to answer some questions and maybe some of the previous speakers' feedback, the concerns about a young company, inexperienced. I've been in the golf course management business for 33 years. There is probably several hundred years of experience within our company. The company itself, although young, is comprised of many individuals that have worked in this business in various ownership, management capacities throughout their careers. So inexperience is not a factor. As Scott said, this is what we do. We're owner-operators. We're not real estate developers. We own 26 properties throughout the United States. 26 properties, 9 different states. 15 of these are private country clubs. 11 of them are daily fee public operations. LPGA is a semi-private, allows public play and member play as well. Big company, we currently own $300 and something million worth of golf course assets here in the United States. We generate $100 million in revenues. And yes, to your point, this is what we do. We're interested in LPGA International. We want to be a part of this community. We feel like we can provide the improvements that some of the members and the speakers are desiring. We think we can provide a first-class operation that the city's proud of, that the members are proud of, the tourists that come in and play, the college events, the civic events, everything. It's what we do, and we're investing a significant amount of money, and our intention is not to run it in the ground. All due respect, we're a for-profit company, and we intend to make money there. And competitive business. The winners in that business provide a unique experience, great conditions, great food and beverage, and that's what our intentions are. So we look forward to being a part of the community here. We look forward to sitting down if this sale is completed and meeting with the residents, the members. Like I say, our intention is to be a viable part of this community and make LPGA the premier golf venue in this area.
Well, how do you intend to do that? I mean, what's your intentions on how
we need to improve the facility first and foremost. The facility does have a lot of deferred maintenance in the clubhouse, on the golf course. We need to come in and spend some significant money initially. And
on the clubhouse or
on the clubhouse initially, most of that will be in the clubhouse. We're in the planning phase as to when we would address things like bunkers and those type of deals. That would be part of our master plan there. But I think I can easily say that in the first 90 days we'll spend several $100,000 improving the physical asset because it is in some need of upgrade and repair.
In the paper, it discussed that you would like to have a professional golf tournament there. Do you have any other facility, any place else in the country where you manage a professional tournament in any of your facilities?
No, sir, we do not. Again, it's just the LPGA is right there at our doorstep. We feel like there used to be events of that size there. They're not there any longer for whatever reason. It's not our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to to create a great golf experience for all the golfers, members, golfers that use the facility. If ultimately that comes to pass, where a significant LPGA Tour event, we wrote that in the master agreement so that we could keep those talks open. We do operate a club in the New England area that was the host of the 2004 U.S. Women's Open, so.
So I am concerned about the residents. They do make some valid points, and that concerns me. So I'm thinking a conversation prior to a sale with those residents so that they can know what your goal and your intentions are for them. I think a conversation prior to an event goes a long way, and I think that they can address their concerns to you, you can address your concerns and what your intentions are outside of 2 or 3 minutes here addressing it to us. I think that a conversation would go a long way with those residents prior to a sale.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think a large part of it is that while this is a deal but essentially between you and Consolidated, a track record of proof, of what you have done with other courses is probably something that will go a long way with the residents. And I haven't seen that. I don't know it, even from what I've read and been able to peruse. And that's all I was able to do was peruse it because I didn't get this in enough time for me to really delve into it. And so I agree with that, the sentiment. But did you have anything else for us?
No, sir. I just appreciate the fact that we could come. Our accountant's here as well, Adam Reich, if you need to ask him some questions.
Sir, it sounds as though you have the intent of providing a fantastic facility in Daytona Beach, and it would certainly enhance everything here. Sometimes we have a little bit of trust issues, right? And so I think our position sometimes now as residents is we don't give it. We'll work with you, we'll walk with you in that. And if you work with us a bit, that would be fantastic. But I think that your intent, your goal, your dream, your vision sounds like it would be very good for the community. But we want to make sure that we're working together with us. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Our intent is exactly that. Thank you.
I agree. And just in one more thought was, in piggybacking what she said, I think that it's hard sometimes to tell people to trust the process of things because I personally believe that the process has to come with checks and balances, and I think that's what they're asking for. And I think you sound like you have wonderful plans for that community, and I would love to be there. I would love to see it, and I'm rooting for that. But I have to root for them as well. And therefore, if we're asking them to trust the process, let's just make sure the process has some checks and balances so that they're okay with it. And then I think I could move forward from there.
Understood.
I would just say this just because it's a reality, and we certainly would want to involve the homeowners as much as possible in all the process that we can, because that's a valid point you want to communicate. That's always excellent. But we are dealing with 2 for-profit corporations here, and who's to say that the timelines get extended here? And if that does happen, we don't know that we'll always be here, and we don't know that this club would continue to exist in the interim. My firm represents a lot of the active buyers on the market for this type of club right now. And I can tell you that the banks aren't lending and the buyers aren't as available as they once were. So just be cognizant of the fact that if this thing that we've been working on, and I realize that you guys don't know that we've been working this hard on it and for this long, but we've been working on this for like 5 months now, actively with the LPGA and with the city and everything else. But just know that, time is money for corporations, and we want to respect communicating with the communities and everything. But if it extends too long, at some point we don't know that it will ever go forward, and we might have to look for other opportunities. And I can't speak for CTO, but I know that they have a fiduciary obligation to their shareholders to stop losses. And if they allow us to go too long, I know that if I was in the position of their counsel, I'd be answering very hard questions about why I'm allowing this to exist and why I don't just shutter that club. So I'll just conclude with that. I don't mean to be sort of like bringing really sort of hard things into the conversation, but it is a reality.
I'm okay with that.
Let me say this to you, sir. We realize the reality of business. We have residents who live out there, and your tone doesn't resonate well with me, doesn't resonate well with this community. And so if that's the disposition that you bring to us, then maybe this isn't the place for your company. And I just, let's all be curt here. So.
Sorry.
So do you have anything else to say?
Well,
because you're the legal counsel today.
Right. I'm not trying to negate from anything he said, because that's all very accurate. But all I can say is that if it doesn't go right now, I don't know what happens. And I hope that this does happen, because this is a great opportunity for a club that CBIG has identified as an awesome, awesome place to build upon for the community and do everything that they want to do. But it's one of those things that you can't stand out there forever waiting.
Well, we understand that. Do you have anything else?
Did you want to speak?
I would like to follow up.
Yeah, you might want to help him.
Soften that up a little bit. I want you guys to be aware, we have been working hard at this, and we haven't been intentionally trying to not be transparent, because that is how CTLC, I mean, we are publicly traded, we do have a fiduciary relationship, but we try and be open and work together with staff as we work through these things. We did view this as a private transaction between two companies. What we've asked the city in this is just clean up an old agreement. We're trying to retrade any deals. We're not trying to get out of the dollar fee. That's not our intention here. Our intention here was there was a lot of old legal documents that said a lot of things that just weren't relevant. So I think that's where we met with staff and said, hey, can we bring some clarity to this so we're all on the same page? We can kind of put all those old documents that no one wants to read behind us, and can we stay just what's here today in the present? And that's all. We're not trying to retrade, or we didn't think of it as asking your approval of the transaction. It was just, can we have your approval to clean up those old documents and just restraight the deal as the only things that really apply here and now. So that's really why we haven't been here, and that is really all we're asking for, is just to kind of clean up those old documents and just restate. So that's really what we're asking for tonight. We're not asking for to approve the transaction. That's between us and figure out. All we're asking you is, can we clean up all that so it's clear to everybody, us, you, LPGA, and any potential future buyers that may come in. So I think that's all we're asking for you to approve tonight. And I want to say one thing, and Bob, jump in here, Mr. Morris. As far as you're concerned regarding future development, of course being residential or some other type of use, that would have to come before you as a rezoning application and site plan approval. So it's not like somebody could just do that without you guys being aware of that. So you guys would have a say into that if that was an intention of this buyer or a future buyer. They would have to seek your approval before doing that. So as far as that being in the deed restriction, it's not, but you control that. So
2 years ago, y'all were so certain you're going to keep on with the golf course.
Well, I think we have proven we're not a very good golf course operator, and we've done.
We're so positive 2 years ago.
Well,
No, they were not.
What we've tried to do was assemble all the assets so we could package it and find somebody that was really good at it to do that, and that's what we feel we've done. And that's kind of where we are today. So I just wanted to kind of make sure what we were asking for. We're not asking you to approve the transaction. We're just asking for you to make some clarity regarding a bunch of old legal documents that you guys are a party to already. And we're not asking for anything new or any concessions. We're just asking for clarity.
Why didn't you want that cleared up 2 years ago?
good questions. We probably should have addressed it then, but, we're here today. We have this opportunity in front of us, and all we're asking for you guys is just to help.
Mr. Jagger, could
Bill would like to continue this.
Well, we're not done with the discussion. Once they are done, and we're done for questions with them. Any other questions?
Can I, you guys understand kind of what the commentary up here has been, that there's a lot of uncertainty and uncomfortableness within the whole community, but particularly within the LPGA residential community about what's going to happen. And you mentioned that in the first certain amount of time, you expected to invest several $100,000. They don't know any of that. They don't know what you would do with that money, what you've identified as, I was in there last December, and it was raining in the pro shop. I mean, there were 30 buckets around capturing rainwater. There's significant, and it's deferred maintenance. Thank you, Scott. And and actually we get to thank ourselves for that, because we owned a lot of stuff out there that we didn't keep up either. But ultimately, this has been, if you remember 5 or 6 years ago, I started this thing through strategic planning of, we got to get the city out of this deal, because what's going to happen is the lease is going to run out and we're going to own it, and what we're going to do is shut it down. So we would have closed those golf courses. There's no way we could have maintained them and operated them at a millions of dollars subsidy from the taxpayers. That just wasn't going to happen. So getting us out so that everything was under common ownership, and that was exactly what was presented last time around, was you guys are going to bring a management company, try and make it work, and if not, you didn't know what was going to happen. Well, you brought in a management company, it didn't work. Here we are.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have an issue, either of you, with trying to put together some sort of campaign where you can, or not even campaign, but having a public forum or something where you can share information about, who the residents' new neighbor is going to be at the golf course, and what your experience is, and what the things are that you think, would need to be done. And we're kind of interjecting the public process into this, because you're not asking us, this isn't a development agreement. You're asking us to change 4 things, and ultimately, you guys pay off the $700,000.
Yeah.
You close the deal. I mean, we don't have to agree. The other 3 things don't matter. There's the uncertainty about the reuse, but I think there's still a way to not throw the baby in the bathwater out here. So, but do you see where I'm talking about with making sure that we have, and my guess is you've never bought a golf course from a public entity or in this kind of situation where the public was a party to it. But it would go a long way if there was a educational opportunity for the people, particularly that live in LPGA, to be reassured as to what it is, who's coming in, and what your intentions are.
I don't really know how to answer that, in that we have no problem, again, trying to outline what we need to do. We've got a timing issue right now. And so.
I'm sorry, sir, can I have you use the microphone?
You can use the microphone.
Again,
it picks up, yes.
we've got a timing issue here, and we're trying to get this transaction closed. Creating a public forum at a future date, if it's not in the next week to 10 days, might not be very prudent. Again, there's a lot of moving parts here. There are the residents that surround that golf club. There are the several hundred members that are there, the 400 some odd people that are members there. Some live there, some don't. And then there's the thousands of people that are not residents that come to play that golf course, spend their money, come into town and play, whether they're hosting an event, whether they're just playing golf as they're playing along the coast. Typically in a deal like this, you don't just go ask everybody's permission. And I know that probably that may not resonate with you well either, sir, but don't take that the wrong way. It's hard to get everybody's approval. If we're there 3 years from now, running the operation, it's better than it was today. The golf course has improved, the clubhouse has improved, we're stewards of the community. There will be golfers that don't like what we're doing because it doesn't fit their agenda. And so it's hard to sit there and just huddle around. I can tell you, as I told you today, our intent is to make that the premier golf operation in this area. We want to make it better than it is today. We want to improve it physically. We want to improve it operationally. We want to employ the more than 100 people that are there. We want to be a part of this community. And I think I would just ask, let us do that. And again, what I hear today is you've got an operator that Doesn't feel like they're a good operator. They've had 2 management companies in there. They haven't done what the members and the residents like either. The members, the residents won't know until we show them. And again, it is not in our best interest to invest $3.5 million and not improve a place and continue to lose money. That's not our intent. We need that club to be better, physically and operationally, so that it becomes profitable and we garner that return on our investment. That's what our goal is.
Why don't you sign on as management or until you can prove yourself?
That's not what we do, ma'am. We own and operate our properties. We don't manage properties for other people.
Well, that would be the proof in the pudding. You say you're so good.
Well, we think investing $3.5 million is the proof in the pudding as well.
Okay. All right.
Because I don't have anybody else lined up behind me to do that. So.
I understand.
Okay?
I understand that. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep, appreciate
For
it.
those that were trying to sign up, they have already taken public speaking on this item.
Somebody else signed up for this item?
Mr. Nicholson.
Oh, okay. John.
There's another gentleman who was going to sign up.
Actually, there's a lot of people that wanted to speak. We're going to reopen public comment.
Let him speak. Sorry.
Yep, you wanted to...
Tense issue, he can't speak twice, he already spoke.
Okay.
John, 413 North Grandview. The things are from the residents, fear of commitment, fear of what's the unknown. The other one said they're unqualified. The amount of money for profits, those were the things that were brought up. I believe those things were answered. If we go back to the original, the city put a ton of money into this golf course. Raising the land, doing all the improvements. Sold for $1 million. We were shocked, okay? Consolidated Smoke is going to commercial, all right? They've sold almost all their land, so they're going into commercial. They tried, they can't do it, they admitted it. These people have it. They've done golf courses, that's all they do. We worked with somebody that was also new, DME, with the municipal stadium, and it's worked out well, all right? We had this problem, remember Joe's Crab Shack? Thank you, Jim. We lost them. Jim brought them back. They've been a good partner. So what I'm asking you is, they've answered all of the questions that need to be answered, and it's unfortunate that one of them dug a hole and kept digging, and everything out of his mouth was the opposite of what he needed to say. But the other two answered your questions and gave you a positive response. So what I'm asking you to do is welcome these people. Allow them to do what they do. They do have a background. The last time we had a problem like this, somebody was coming in and building on 6 city blocks on the ocean, 3 high-rises and a swimming pool. And they said, oh no, they don't have the money, they don't have the experience. And we turned them down. And they built the 2 towers in Holly Hill the year after. So let's take these people, let's welcome them to the community, because we need LPGA. The residents deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. No one else? Okay. Any further comments from the commission?
I just think we need to continue this and look into it a little bit more for the residents of Daytona Beach.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to be sure about the governance aspect of this. So our role here is to look at one piece, which is the transfer of the funds, correct? That somebody will pay the city what is owed. Is that correct?
That's the primary monetary
That's
element,
what this
yeah.
is, right? Further to, I guess, in addition to that, the sale is a private property issue, and it will come before us as it relates to zoning at a later date.
No, the redevelopment of the property would come before you.
It will come before us at a later date.
If that were to occur.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Any further comments, sir?
So the item before us has the four things that are amendments to the agreement. That's what we're being asked to do. So we can vote it up, vote it down, or if we want to continue it, we need to have grounds to continue it, which means somebody's going to have to come up with one of those 4 items that they have a concern with that would justify the continuation. Seeing as how they both brought lawyers up to the podium, I want to make sure we don't just say, we don't like CBIG or we don't like a Chinese company. That's not grounds to continue this without having a problem with one of those lawyers. It has to be based on one of these things that we're being asked to consider. And there's been some talk about, wanting this to wait, but I just want to make sure we're clear in the continuance if we choose to go that route.
Or we can just vote it down.
Could be voted down.
Yeah, we could, because I just want to make sure we know our options.
Up, down, or, but if we continue, I think we need to make sure we clearly state the ground why we're continuing it.
Okay, well, we might not want to continue it if we don't have the proper grounds.
I said what I
You done? Mr. Henry? Okay. Here's my concern, and I understand Commissioner Gilliland, his sentiments, and we have an issue here, of something that we don't control a lot. And our residents, they don't really ask for a lot of times. And Commissioner Gilliland knows full well, and all of us know, that we're fighting for a neighborhood down the street because it was purchased by someone that we didn't know, and we didn't have any control over who they were, or where they came from, or what their intentions were. And it's a beautiful neighborhood. The homes are well valued, well maintained, one of the best neighborhoods in our community. Now those people they're kind of stuck. And we're here tonight, we don't know CBIGs. I didn't get to read your entire documentation. And what I read, I didn't see a history that says that you have improved golf courses. I didn't see that you brought in professional tournaments. I didn't see any of that. Consolidated has a history of being one of the most productive businesses in our community and one of the most successful. And we have a history of working well with Consolidated and valuing, and hopefully that will continue. But at the end of the day, some point in time, we do have to look after the residents too. And we do have to be deeply concerned about them. And all we have today is that they still owe us $500,000 or $600,000 that they would have to pay for us on green fees, right? That's all. We could ask for that money in escrow, say give it to us up front so we know that you could pay, or that you would pay. We could just assume that, yes, they look like they say they had $300 million in assets. They probably would be able to pay it as time goes on. Perhaps, and I think this did come up in the past, where we were concerned about whether they would turn it into residences and try to reconvert it, but we knew then that we control at the end of the day whether they tried to do that. I don't know enough about CBIGs. I don't know enough about them. The people who live in LPGA don't know enough about them, and they don't trust them. The residents have said it over and over to us. They don't know, and they wish that it would be continued. I do know that I didn't like their presentation. Wasn't anything about their presentation tonight that I liked. We saw that. I felt like I lost my personal decorum for a moment there, and I apologize for that. And perhaps that's because they don't know our community. So I don't know. Yes?
I have a question for you. So item 1 here is assigning the per-round surcharge, from Consolidated to CBIG. Would you feel more comfortable if that were actually paid in some sort of present-day value of the remainder of that fund? And if so, to me, that would be grounds to continue this, to wait to see if we could explore that option, if it would be considered by them and what that dollar amount might be.
That's definitely one of the reasons that I brought that up. I think that if they came forward with something of that nature, that would be conceivable for me, that it would help me to be more comfortable with them, and it'll also give me enough time to do what I believe would be greater diligence, because I want a better vetting of who they are. I realize that this is a transaction between them and Consolidated. I do realize that.
If I may.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mayor. But I did want to point out the contract allows you to accelerate the payment of the remaining amount due for the per-round surcharge instead of accepting an assignment and future payment of the dollar per round over the 10-year period. So you wouldn't have to reduce to present value is what I'm saying. It just allows you to accelerate remaining amount dues instead of assigning the payment plan.
Is that at our discretion?
That's at your discretion. That's your choice tonight.
So no, if we adopt this change for the assignment, we could say, give us the rest of the money now.
No, if you deny this agreement, your option, another option would be for them, if the sale goes forward, to accelerate that payment and pay it to you in a lump sum of whatever is remaining. I believe it's $560,000 remaining.
So they would just be able to do that anyway and then go on with their business.
If the property were to sell.
Yeah.
Right.
And they could do that, but we could continue it and they would have enough time to think about whether they want to do that. But either way, we're not going to be in this business. And I understand Consolidated, we weren't in the golfing business either. But we also tried to operate with the best of faith with you because we need to protect that asset to the community. And, you know, I don't know if the community feels as though that process has been reciprocated totally. Although I realize when we're building Minto and you got other properties out there, we all know that the property needs to stay valuable. We know that, but we just don't have enough confidence. Yes, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to continue to our August 7th meeting and request that the manager and the attorney explore the option of an upfront payment to close out the surcharge now, as part of this agreement, as opposed to I'm making a motion, so I shouldn't explain this, but.
And we already have a motion on the floor
two
for a
motions
continuance.
on the floor right now.
Two.
Yes, I have Gilliland and Reed, when it was first read into the record, that the motion to adopt. And then I have Traeger and May, who did a motion to continue. But we haven't voted on either one of these.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to walk back my motion in support of yours.
May
It
was
was Traeger's.
No, I want to continue it.
I'm saying to August 7th, but I'm providing a reason why we are requesting to continue it.
We can vote on Commissioner Traeger's.
Continue with a reason?
The reason that he's giving so that you have a rationale.
To explore the opportunity of the surcharge being paid now versus over the next 5 years.
Well, I just definitely think we need to do more diligence, that's it.
But it gives us enough time to do that.
Okay.
And the other thing is, if they want to go along with the sale without us, that basically enables them to do that, which is what he's, purporting. They can do that. We can't stop that. And if they're willing to do that, then it gives me more of an incentive to believe that they really are going to come in here and do something spectacular with the facility, which I'm not convinced of. Yes.
Do we need to give a reason to continue? Because I know we've continued stuff before just to continue it. We've never given reasons.
It would certainly be helpful if you had some direction to staff as to what would happen during that continued period, if there were additional information you required, so that staff would have an idea as to what you needed in order to make a decision.
I think we need to look more in the background of this company that wants to take over.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. But if they go through what he says.
Looking into the background, it gets to the same issue of, do we think we're going to get paid?
Yes.
We assigned it to CBIG and they bankrupt themselves right after the purchase, we don't get paid. So that, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm saying of exploring this option of closing out the surcharge at the sale of the club.
As long as we have time to do due diligence, and I don't like to be rushed on something that's important for our residents.
Okay.
So are you willing to amend your motion for what he's saying?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, yes. And your
I'll second it, yeah,
Mr. Mayor?
to what he's saying.
Okay, so we have a motion, the amended motion, and who was the second? To continue it with the caveat that they will be able to expedite the full payment within that time, and the city staff will do their due diligence to give us a thorough vetting as possible of this company in case they choose not to go through with it under those parameters.
That's until August 7th, our
Until
next meeting.
August 7th, our next meeting. Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other clarification necessary?
No, that's sufficient, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. All right, great job, guys. Sometimes it takes that. Yeah. Okay, is that our last item?
Commissioner Traeger?
Commissioner Traeger?
Nothing.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner May?
Okay, so I came into office in November 14th of 2018, and one of the things I really wanted to work on was trying to address the concerns that Commissioner Henry and Commissioner Reed out with regard to food deserts. So I was on the DDA, Downtown Development Authority, and the SNAP program came about. And so we've been working on that for 6 months. Even during the federal shutdown, we were still doing paperwork. So we will have a rollout of that roughly August 31st. I've been waiting for a long time for this. I've been harassing the staff mercilessly to keep it going. This would allow residents who use an EBT card to use it at the farmers market. And locally, we're the only ones who are doing this. We would be supporting Housing Authority and the seniors. There's some other programs that we can advertise this through, but it would be a huge help. What I need is for some people to be able to find a way to bring people to the farmers market on a Saturday morning. This will not, in fact, we're approved now, but we want to roll it out so we do it correctly. So August 31st, we'll start with this, and then start to bring people, bring friends, church members, but start telling people about it. And this is something that will stay for years and years and years beyond my term here. So that's important, and it supports the efforts by Commissioner Reed and Commissioner Henry. The other thing is, I'm going to leave the beautification to you, and I'm going to leave that to you, okay? I had requested a development map in a private conference with the city manager. When do you think we can see that? Where we can take a look at apartments and houses and shops, kind of for all of Daytona Beach. Do we have anything like that that we're planning? So we can see kind of what the transportation people were saying. This is where we should expect.
We actually have a map that we've put together that gives us the location of the various development projects. It also gives, if you click on those icons, you would find out what the size of the project and what it was about.
Okay.
So it is available now online.
Okay, thank you so much. Just last night, that's all I'm going to talk about. Last night at the beautification meeting, we talked about possible rezoning. Is that possible in Midtown to take a look at the zoning and see what we can come up with to help businesses change footprints, allow more things, change our parameters a bit? Is that possible?
You can, yes. You can look at it holistically and come back with a plan. You'd have to do it as a plan and have the plan approved.
Huh?
There is a process to do that.
Okay, so it's possible. Okay. And then Commissioner Henry, and Reed, and myself, we keep requesting a workshop for leisure services. Any ideas when we can put that on the calendar? Is it on the calendar already?
No, I wouldn't. Weren't you wanting a workshop on fees, the facility fees? Is that what we're talking
Right.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, we're working on that right now. We will schedule that. We just haven't gotten everything together at this point.
Okay.
And that's not just on the fees, it's on the issue of the charging folks for having vendors. It's the vendor fees.
Right, it was the whole.
The whole thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
excuse me.
that's fine, just a date. Something was brought up. I'd like to know, the rules don't change. We just enforce them. Are we enforcing all of our rules as it applies to, let's say, Bike Week and Main Street and code enforcement? And is it Is this new to people? I'm just curious. So have we been doing this over years? Is this a new thing? It feels as though what I'm hearing when I speak to merchants is that the rules are being enforced. And so is this, you can speak to it if you'd like, is this a new idea here that they're actually being enforced? And I think this is what people asked for, right? They requested this?
I can tell you that a memo came out from Mr. Morris for Bike Week, which actually was not our policy. And it made a bunch of requirements on business owners on Main Street that they'd never had to apply to before. I told them to sit down with Jim and talk through it, to make sure I said, you don't need to get me involved in this. And they were able to hash that out and figure out, kind of what the history of the whole thing, because, Jim's still relatively new with the city.
Sure.
And, it was, they were able to work that out, but, the rest of it, for the most part, there's a couple of things that we talked about at the last meeting where you've got some folks that have they used to be SRX licenses. I don't know what the new terminology is for restaurant licenses. That we've heard talked about by John and a number of other people on many occasions that we've never asked them for their sales tax receipts.
And I think I asked who was actually a restaurant on Main Street last time, like who actually is a restaurant and who isn't.
There's one on Seabreeze that's gone now that was Bishop that I know somebody who used to work there, and they said when you rang in a glass of wine, it came up cheeseburger. And that was so they could hoodwink the state on, how much food they were selling when they had a kitchen, it just wasn't open. So, I think there's two parts to your question. One is there's a lot of things that we've always done that we continue to do, and there's some other things that we're doing better and we're doing more of. But I also think there's some things that we could still improve on.
But we're doing what the citizens requested, which was enforce the laws. We have laws on the books and enforce them. That's really what people have been saying for the longest time, and now we're doing that, correct? Would you say? Yes, we're doing that. Yes. Okay, all righty. And then here's my difficult question for the evening. What is the plan for First Step Shelter? I was at the meeting, and some things were said, and I'm just wondering, where are we right now?
Well, I was not at the meeting, and I did read the newspaper article about the meeting, and, so I wasn't at the meeting, and I didn't feel the tone of what was said. I think that First Step needs to make a few more decisions to make sure that we're able to be open in a reasonable amount of time, within the time frame that we're allotted. So that is where we are. And I am hopeful that we will have another meeting within the next 2 weeks. They weren't able to plan a meeting because I wasn't there. And in that meeting, it is my hope that we will make some of the more pertinent decisions that have to be made. And also release Catholic Charities to be able to do some of the things that need to be done, such as making the purchases to be prepared for the opening. But that's where we are.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, I only had one thing that I wanted to throw onto the back end of that, which is, where did this safe zone thing come from? We talked about this at a commission meeting, and we basically decided not to do that. The police chief got up and said, we don't have many people out at the one at the Bellevue Extension in Clyde Morris. There was an estimate put together of $100,000 or something to do something minimal out there. And then I read the thing in the paper too and was frankly astounded that somebody made the decision that, we're going to do this and we're going to build it and we're going to put it here and it's going to have a roofed area and all kinds of things. And we never talked about that. Or at least agreed that that was something we wanted to move forward.
We didn't. And staff will have to say that, but one of the things we got to remember is that the concept of what a safe zone is and a place that allows for a holding area, and even First Step, they don't really have a full understanding of what you can do with that space. It enables you to be able to have a space that says that people can't necessarily come in.
Look at detox area.
Yeah, so it could be that,
That I would understand and agree with, but once again, you can't, I'm Never believe when I read the paper anymore, but this one astounded me when it got into the size of the thing, that it was going to be roofed, that it was, you know, a concrete slab, it was to be fenced, it was, you know, it was something that, you know, the detox area, it was something that I do believe we need that. But it was, Jim, I see you, go ahead.
But I think it does allow, if it's a safe zone, it can be. But my thing was with a safe zone, before Jim goes, I was never of the impression that it should be something that was away from First Step that enabled everybody else to be able to use it as their collective safe zone. If it was gonna be a collective safe zone, then First Step has to be the one to operate it. But if they choose not to operate it as that, then that's a choice they make. But we're not, as the city of Daytona Beach, gonna take on that land and go 100 acres away from the facility, and we then have to operate in a safe zone also.
Because
we're getting into a lot of things, and the safe zone characterization was a staff characterization of what it is. It's a detox area, as somebody who's going into the center, and it's an area where they would be cleared, you know, no drugs, no knives, no guns, and all those kind of things. And it's an area that is found in many of the shelters. Now, safe zone is areas that are identified for cities and counties that don't have the full service facilities for servicing the homeless. And in this case, that whole shelter is a safe zone in that sense, because you're not required to have a safe zone as a result of what we're doing with the shelter. So the area you're talking about is really the intake area, and the place where they would be clearing, not only they would clear anybody going through into the shelter. So
that I understand and agree with, but, you know, there was a conversation, and I hate to do this because Commissioner Delgado's not here, but he talked about having a full service sort of safe zone out on that property someplace, which, you know, when we heard that the one that we have doesn't get used much, you know, and ours is one of the nicest ones around. It's got, you know, it's got bathrooms, it's got running water, it's, you know, it's, you know, yeah, you can't be there during the day, but I mean, if you need a place to sleep at night, it's something that would work.
It's not intended to be a safe zone. Where the shelter is and the facilities that are there are intended to be for the purposes of bringing the homeless into that facility. And there's no area designated outside of that for safe zone.
And I understand the need for the sort of detox area, you know, the intake area, and I agree that needs to be out there someplace. I don't know where that would be and the size it would need to be, but you know, with using the term safe zone is, you know, that's a come and go thing where you come in there in the evening and you stay there all night and do whatever you want within reason, and then you leave in the morning. And that's not what we were ever agreed to as a body, was something that we thought would be a good idea for that area.
There's been a lot of discussions about safe zones and the facilities, and some of it's been mischaracterized, to be honest with you.
And I just wanted to add one thing. I can speak for myself. I don't speak for the commission, just for myself. Let me clear that up. I support the First Step shelter. I read the newspaper and I got the sense that there was some sort of plan for it to not go up. That's not the intent. We're actually trying to move things along in a speedy fashion. If we ask questions, if we're concerned, it's more to increase urgency, because we recognize we need it, we made a promise, and we have to fulfill that commitment by a certain date. So that is where I stand with it personally.
And urgency, and the reality is, and I'll say this to my colleagues on that board, we have urgent things that we need to make sure that we're doing. And I intend to address that during the next meeting, and to have a list of those things, and let's get them checked off.
So we're in July, and we have not yet made our fiscal 18-19 $100,000 payment, which would be due by September 30th. I think we should ask the shelter board to waive our fee for this year if we amend our agreement to go a year longer, because that will overlap with the county and secure the county's match. But we've already made, I'm sorry, 400,000, not 100,000. We've already paid 400,000 or 800,000 in. It would be $1.2 million at the end of September, but we're missing those overlap years with the county because theirs is matched to what we put in. And, you know, I think we certainly have enough money right now for remember, it's for development and operations. It's not tied down like the county that's only for operations. So our money can be used for things like purchasing bunk beds and purchasing tables and chairs and, what you need for an educational area with you're going to need desks and computers and whatnot. Our money can be used for those things to get it ready. And honestly, to me, the article made it sound like the city's trying to control all that. To me, that's the board's responsibility. You got $800,000 of our money sitting there that you can spend. So get the place open.
Yeah, you're right.
But I do think we should ask for an exception to not pay 2018-19 and tack it onto the end of the agreement, because we have been more than generous with our contribution to this point, not only in dollars but in staff time. The resources we put in, land, everything else.
But now the only thing I'll say to that is that if we get it done in this calendar year, then it does obligate the county.
If we
It's open and operating before October 1.
Yeah.
Got to seal it.
And if that doesn't happen, then, okay, I got you.
Well, that could be part of the agreement, that if it's, if it is
think
not
that's
open
reasonable.
before October 1.
I think we should do that.
Then,
I agree with
and
that.
I don't think I
agree with that.
well, this is a public meeting, I can say it. I've talked to one of the board members who said that was fine.
Yeah.
That was a reasonable thing to ask.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, you guys should send us something formally, to just say that, and then I'll bring it up.
Just talk about, I don't think we have to do anything formally.
We can just not do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you saying you think we just don't have to make the payment?
Yeah.
I don't think we have to. I'll look at that agreement again and see what it says. But
Bob?
It was done by resolution.
Yeah.
So arguably, the commission has, authority over its budget, but I'd have to look at it as well
Okay.
to confirm that.
We'll look at it, but I don't think we have.
So what we would do is we would amend our budget to not appropriate the $400,000 for this year. I'd rather talk to the board about
But yeah,
it, make sure they knew what we were doing.
You
because-
run into some issues with their detrimental reliance and so on, so there are some legal things we'd have to look at as well, because you've created the pledge and the expectation of payment, yes.
Right. And there's
But
already
anything
some
can be done by
hard feelings.
agreement, I'm sorry, Rob. Anything can be done by agreement, of course.
But there's some hard feelings there. It certainly appears. So I don't want to do this and just say, hey, by the way, we didn't appropriate the money, so we're not paying this year. That's not the right way to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'd object, because we're still gonna pay, the $2 million bucks. We're just going to take a year off now so that we have it available in what now will be year 6, and it will count towards county match.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay, well, you guys look into that.
Well, we had talked about how to do that. Even I talked with their board about it
Yes,
one
correct.
time.
You did.
So,
That's correct. Okay. Commissioner Henry?
Good night.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Yeah.
You back on me, or have you said your part? You picked back on me when you started talking, have you said your part?
That was the only thing I had on my list to talk about tonight, because
All right.
James, not gonna steal her shine, but I just wanted to say that the Mount Zion project, where you met at Mount Zion, that I wasn't able to be there, but I'm very excited about that. And I saw a lot of feedback from it from Facebook. Residents were very excited, and thank you. Residents were very excited. So,
The light flash, you said that, turn your mic.
So I believe that every person, no matter what their social economic background, deserves a community that's thriving, that's healthy, that's safe. And so I'm committed to making sure that that's happening over in that area where you and Juanita share. The brochure was really nice this week. Leisure Services is really knocking it out the park. I really did not know all of these things were going on with Leisure Services, but they've had 380 campers. They're getting ready for basketball.
They had the junior lifeguard program. And just this week, I've heard the children, they're excited about the STEM program that's going on at the police department. So I'm really thankful for leisure services, and I'm thankful for what everyone has agreed to help with, because leisure services was my mission. I think the area that I represent probably has the most children. And so I think when we keep them busy, we keep them active, we keep them out of crime, and it makes it better for our police department, it makes it better for us, and it makes it better for them to just be long-term better citizens and demonstrate pro-social behavior in our community, and hope that one day that they'll reinvest that back into our community. So thank you, Leisure Services, and thank you for all of you commissioners who are going forward with helping to make sure that Leisure Services is getting what it's needing, and it's finally indicative of what we'd like to see in our community. And not just for the children, they've got things going on for adults as well, and so I'm very happy to see that. I mentioned STEM Camp is going on, and I've gotten lots of good feedback from that already. One little guy told me today that he's having a great time at STEM Camp. So the next thing that I want to talk about is Chief Capri, and jumping right on top of the incidents that we've had going on this past crazy 2 weeks. He jumped right on top of it. He got a press conference out to reassure the community, and just telling him that I thank him for that type of leadership. Every police chief doesn't know how to do that, jump out front and make sure that the community knows that they're on top of it and that they're working hard to make sure that their residents are safe. And thank you, Norma, because I was out of town for that week in Kentucky and Indiana, and she called me every 3 to 4 hours to make sure I knew exactly what was going on, because a lot of it was happening over in my area. And she drove around, she tried to make sure everybody got in the house and make sure everybody was safe. And so it's just good to have partners that will have your back when you're missing and you're not there. Also, I want to know, what type of inspections do our properties go through? I think I'm a little bit concerned every time I hear properties could have been maintained a little bit better, or this is happening to a certain property, or this would not have happened if we maintained it. So, I'm curious to know what kind of inspections we do on our properties to make sure that they are being properly maintained. And that's something.
City property?
Yes. To make sure that they're being maintained. How often do we inspect roofs? How often are we replacing things? Because I think I'm a little bit on the concerned side as far as hearing quite often that we should have maintained this better, or we could have maintained that better. Because I do think some of these properties we could maintain a little bit better. And going forward, that's something that I'd like to be more aggressive about, and be more aggressive about knowing about and staying on top of. Last thing is the people in LPGA. I just want them to know that I stand with them in their concerns. I know I have an issue coming up with that greatly concerns a lot of the people in my area, with outside companies coming in, and you just don't know. You're not privy to certain information. And so while I think Consolidated Tomoka is a wonderful company and they do great in our community, I too want the residents to know that we're thinking of them and we're taking care of them, and we're concerned about issues that affect them and affect their livelihood and affect their ability to just have a good quality of life. And so, I mentioned this a few weeks ago, when outside companies come in now, I'm no longer going to really support a whole bunch of outside companies just coming in and shedding their skin like snakes. Just shed your skin and then you're out of here. I'm going to be looking to companies to help when they come in, to see the vision that we have for our community and help with those visions that we have for our community, and giving back, whether it's a certain amount of projects that they do, or if they come in and they build 400 apartments, what percentage of that is going to be for affordable housing or attainable housing? Those things are going to be very near and dear to me in the next year and as we go forward with planning. And I think that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I cannot resist. A rattler is talking about shedding their skins like snakes. Oh, I commend you, my dear. I commend you. There's another one in the audience out there with their red on. One of the first things I'd like to address, and we've already, I'm going to piggyback on something else that Commissioner May said. There is an interest in the fees that our vendors are paying for Bike Week. So I think we need to look at that as well, because when you look at some of the numbers that were in our background on what they were paying as businesses, some of those fees are less than what we paid to use one of our properties. And yet they're making so much in that 3 to 4 or 5, even week for some, in some cases. I don't know when's the last time we looked at that, but I would like to look at that. All right? Let me see what else. Community meeting last night at New Mount Zion. Over 50 residents were present. At some point, we occasionally did kind of stray from the topic at hand, but it was really good to see citizens out and to be passionate about their area and to express themselves. So at least that gives us a benchmark. We know what we're striving to do, and now we're hearing from them on what they'd like to see us do. And I think if we work together, Commissioner May has extended an opportunity for the two of us, since we share that property, to perhaps offer some quarterly meetings to get feedback from them, to let them know where we are, to hold ourselves accountable, that we're addressing their concerns. And I've agreed to do that. As you all know, I thank God I am back from New Orleans. Our National Convention for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was there, and we did have to call the meeting. I think you saw in the media where we gave away 17,000 meals because we couldn't have our own gala, so we might as well help feed somebody else, not knowing whether that storm was coming or in the future to feed them. And being away just like yourself, I did call Chief Capri and extend my support to him because some of that was in my zone as well. Now, let me tell you, this is the good part right here. I need some money. All right? I received a phone call today, and I've sent each of you all this email with videos in support. But the Housing Authority is wishing to develop programs for young girls in our community, particularly in my zone, Palmetto Park and Northwood and Caroline Village. Girls, they're looking at 60 girls between the ages of 7 and 13, 49, and that's at Palmetto Park, 49 girls in Northwood from ages 7 to 13, and in Caroline Village, 40 girls from the ages of 7 to 13. The name of the program is Girls on the Run, and they receive a 10-year program, fully supported. They've already gained $1,000 from the sheriff. They only need $2,000 more dollars. Even if y'all just gave me $250 from your bike, oh, there's $5. I got $5. Can I get some more money? Okay, I match his $5. We're at $1,000. I need $1,000 more. Can I get something?
$200.
$200.
Going once,
How much?
going twice.
Another $2. Talk to me.
Okay.
Okay, so I have 500 from...
I'll get the rest of it.
You got the rest?
I'll get the rest of it.
All right, so we've got 5, 5, 2, 2, that's 4. Then you got the balance. The manager has, oh, thank you.
You're doing 500, Commissioner?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, Madam Clerk. Very good, but look at this anyway.
Tell me a little more about, is this for Girls on the Run where they run and they do track running?
No, it's not that. That's just the name of it. There is a 5K walk at the end of it as a fundraiser for this
But
program.
it's not a part of the national one that did?
It's Girls on the Run International.
Yeah.
And there's an explanation here that they sent Girls on the Run of Volusia County. They've asked them to come and support this program in these areas for these young women.
Yeah, that's the same.
You think it's the same thing?
International mentoring.
International mentoring
And they
program.
need it in there, it's good.
We need it in that area. And I thank you all, so I don't have to beg anymore.
Can you send me a copy of that email as well?
I sure will, and I should have done that. Thank you all so much. And that concludes my comments then.
And that's through the Housing Authorities doing
The
that?
Housing Authority is called Girls on the Run.
We
Asked
need
them
to
do
partner
it.
with
And
them.
yes, and the young woman that called me was a previous Riddle employee, so she was calling to say, can you help? Thank you all.
Does
Thank you,
Terrell
thank you.
Bates deserve a shout out and her staff? Because I'll tell you, I've been really impressed with the Housing Authority, with her and the folks she's brought in.
Yes.
I mean, it's...
She is super.
She is super.
And it's a bigger vision, it's outside of just, I mean, that program that she has with the young men and women learning how to create, the fiberglass and redo the boats. Just absolutely creative, out of the box, phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Off the charts. Getting people jobs that pay a living wage, that's phenomenal.
Yes. This young woman is Natalie Smith Wells from the Housing Authority that's calling to ask for help.
Excellent.
Thank you all that did support it.
Her staff she's assembled is awesome as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I too would like to commend our police chief and his staff. And I realize that it is a difficult time when you have that many incidents of violence over a short amount of time. It can lead to a sense of chaos and a feeling that your city is sort of out of control. But we never felt that way, although we know that you had a job to do, and we're proud of the job that you did to try to maintain things. Sometimes you're going to have spikes in a community, and you have young people who make bad decisions. Unfortunately, we had a young person who lost their life. And that's, but our crime statistics overall are way down. Even our homicides are down. But that was a situation that reminds us of why we, as a commission, support law enforcement in the ways that we do. And there are a lot of different ways that we have been supportive. Leisure Services, I too want to say outstanding job. And also want to give a shout out for the STEM camp. I know a little fella who's enjoying it as well. Really learning a lot and bringing home some creative gadgets that are related to math, and talking about things like balance and how you balance different objects in different places. It's very engaging, and that's what, as a family, we talk about engagement is a primary tool of how kids learn. It's about how you activate their minds, and you expose them to things, but you have to do it in a way that makes them desire to learn, and this is doing it. I also want to say, one thing is one of the things that I talked about recently with a group of people is that one of the ways that you curb community frustration is by getting information out as quickly as possible. And the chief did that recently, going over the event that we had last night. While it wasn't information, it was an invitation to provide and to solicit residents and their information. It wasn't, I'm one of those people, I don't mind a little frustration. I thought the meeting was pretty much well run, but people have to have an opportunity to express themselves. And sometimes they're not going to say what we like, or they're not going to say it in a way that we like. But they have to be given an opportunity to say what they have to say, even if it's off topic. And we went last night and the topic was beautification of MMB. Well, a lot of people had code enforcement, and that was an issue, but it's an issue. Tells us that that's what they care about. And then they talked about what types of businesses they'd like to see. And I went away with this also last night. I went away with a few things, but one of the things I went away with was that as we develop a budget and we say that maybe this is what they want, might not be that they really want beautification as much as they may not. Maybe if we have a couple $100,000 to spend, or $100,000, maybe they want us to help them to reignite one or two of those buildings, turn them into a business that might be able to be successful. We have a lady that I spoke to last night who's invested in the area, because at the end of the day, those buildings have to be turned around. And I think the Seafood Festival proved to us that if you have something to do down there, people will come to it. But right now, there's nothing to do. But anyway, good meeting, good job, I thought, by Ms. Goodman, and I thought is Dave here? Mm-hmm. Did an outstanding job of presentation, decorum, excellent, exemplary job. I really appreciate the way that you handled the situation. I have three people that I would like to introduce. And the last meeting we discussed that it was a short turnaround, that we had an opportunity for two people to go to California, travel to Los Angeles, California, for a conference, a youth a mayor's youth summit. And so the objective there is that you will go to California and they will have a summit. And the idea is that they will put together a presentation. They will present something at the summit and come home. And at the end of the day, hopefully present to us whatever it is that they come away with. They may want to come back and say they want to form a youth council. And then we would maybe add that to our list of boards, councils that would maybe advise us, or they may want to form their own youth council that's separate and apart from us in any way, shape, or form, which I sort of like, but I also sort of like us giving them an area that they could meet, but I don't want us to control what they say or do, because they have to find their voice, and I want to see more people 18, 16, 20, coming up and telling us what they value, what they believe in. But at any rate, these three people, we had a litany of applicants, and there wasn't a one that wasn't excellent. Not one. Every one of them was excellent. But these three ladies, they hit grand slams. They went to another level. Our first person is Miss Derica Irons. She is a student at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, where she graduated from Spruce Creek High School, from the IB program. She has, and I'm going to allow them to come up and just say a little bit about themselves, because each one of them have already created and done projects that are pretty much equivalent to what I would like to see them do. They've already done that in their short lives, where they've, our second person, and we only had two, but ours were so good that we called and harassed the people until they first said, well, you can bring them if you pay for them. Then they said they would give them a room. Then they said, well, we'll just pay for all three of them.
All right.
So, we harassed them because I really had a hard time saying no to any one of them. They were just that good. Second person is Kiara Lieberman. She's a student at Daytona State. She's the editor of their yearbook, and I believe a graduate of, homeschool. Phenomenal student. Our third person is Alessandria Cash from Bethune-Cookman. She's originally from Sanford. One of her mentees is the mayor of Sanford. All three of these, when I spoke to their references, they couldn't say enough good things about these three young ladies. So if you three would just come up, I would like for you to tell us, each one of them have worked on projects. I was just so impressed in reading their applications. Just tell us just a little line or two about what you've done, and then we'll move on. And name?
My name is Derica Irons. I go to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and I'm a mechanical engineering student. A lot of things that I like to do is within the education system. So I tutor at Terry T, and then I also tutor, and I'm a part of like the CNA program at Campbell Middle School. I strongly believe in like giving the students like the idea beyond the box of Daytona Beach, the idea beyond like you can be anything that you want to be, and not a lot of students like can grasp that. A lot of them, like, their main goal is, oh, I'm going to be a manager. A lot of times I want to like hey, you can be this, you can be an astronaut, you can be an engineer, you can be a lot of things. And I really love the fact that once they know that, and they ask me, hey, how can I do that? Or they even bring me back research that they did before, and then we go before that. And I really believe that starting early at elementary school and then also hitting them again in middle school, a lot of the students come from Campbell, and then they see me like walking down from like Terry T, and they'll be like, hi, Miss Irons, guess what I did? And that's just like a great inner feeling for me, because I feel like I'm actually, contributing to their growth. And that's just one of the things I do.
All right, Ms. Irons. Ms. Lieberman, who's only, I believe, 18, is it?
Yes.
The youngest
I'm-
one of the bunch. You're a
I am.
sophomore, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
ma'am.
I'm a sophomore as well. I'm Kira Lieberman. I go to Daytona State. A lot that I've done was with tutoring and also at the libraries here, volunteer work, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the Daytona State College newspaper. I really like trying to focus on the community, but the bigger issues we have just in the country generally, but focusing it in on the community and how young people can get involved and what we kind of care about. Yeah, so I hope we can do something, whether like she said, like Derica said, with young children especially, like getting them educated, maybe not as in-depth with certain things, but just so that they know what's going on in their community and what they can do by the time they're our age.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Cash?
Greetings, my name is Alexandria Cash. I am an uprising senior at the illustrious Bethune-Cookman University. I'm a political science major with a minor in English. I'm originally from Sanford, Florida. First, Sanford, Florida, my first internship was with the city of Sanford. I was a part of the community development department. I handled HUD, the homeless initiatives, and also my Brother's Keeper program by Obama. When I got to Cookman, I interned with Vote Mob for 2 years, advocating on Amendment 4 and also Hillary's campaign. Recently, me and my line sister, I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Me and my line sister just brought the first chapter to Daytona Beach of Dream Defenders. It's an advocacy organization that advocates based on blacks, Latinx, indigenous youth, and white working class. And so I am nothing but advocacy and activism, and I mean, that's just what I do. That's in everything I do, so thank you.
All right, well, thank you for coming out tonight, ladies. I'm looking forward to a great trip with you, and hopefully you guys will be able to come back with something productive. Thank you. All right. Yep. You have anything? No. Okay, we'll convene with our public comments. This meeting is adjourned.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can get everyone to take their seat.
So he and I, we share.
Yes. Sir, if I can get you to take your seat.
In your best interest.
Sir.
It's just amazing to see.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk.
And I just want to make an announcement that an LG cell phone was found out in the hall. I'm going to give it to Chief Capri, and he's going to hang on to it. Okay. And you can do the face recognition to prove that it's yours.
Give it the body.
Our first speaker is Dr. Ruth Plummer, and on deck is Dorothy, I think it's Mayer.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, all commissioners. I have something. Can I pass those out?
You can give that to the assistant, and she'll
Okay.
pass them out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just one. I thought you just look at. I didn't have time to run off all them, girl.
Okay, go ahead and continue with your...
Okay, thank you. I would like to, first of all, I'm so happy that I was here tonight, just to hear the format that was presented here, and to really get the feel of my community and the love that this commission has for our citizens here. And I am so grateful to be a part of the community. My name is Dr. Ruth Plummer. I am the CEO and the founder of Free Spirit Evangelistic Outreach Ministries. Also with Stone Soup Community. I'm on the agenda tonight because the question that I want to ask is church regulations. I have just was able to, I've been on this road of ministering a long time, and I have been many places, but I'm at a new place, and I just got my business tax license to do this. And this is what the city told me. The city said that I can only minister to my members. I can only feed my members. I can only, and I'm thinking, am I in the United States? Where am I at? And so that was, I don't understand. And so I said, let me come down here so I could get a good understanding, because I was told that. I would not stand here and not say that. But that's what they told me. I cannot marry nobody but just people that is in my church. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I can only feed them people that is in the church. So I need to know, when did all this happen? Where I been at? I thought I was in the loop, but somewhere I must be done got out the loop or something. I have what it said I could do, but when they told me I could not, minister just to
She's due 30 more seconds based on the time she started
Okay.
talking.
just the people that and feeding people. Now every time you say feeding, you automatically you think it's the homeless, but it's not. We have families in this community that get a certain amount of money, and they come with us. We've been so blessed. We have the Harvest Program. I get Kentucky Fried Chicken. I get Wawas. We get pizza, all kinds of stuff. These are families that come, and then we are blessed to have other foods and items. So we give out this to families that will help them to go further the rest of the month. I guess I'm going to put that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Plummer, can you, I'm not sure what you have, but can you have someone or someone on staff talk? This lady is one of, she's almost a saint, in my opinion. I mean, that's just my opinion. I know her. But could you have someone talk to her about what her issue is and to help?
Right
help,
over
help
here.
work with her to see
Yeah.
if we can help her to be successful.
You told me I wasn't going away, right? That's right. Amen.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right.
That's all I have to say. Y'all keep my brochure and pray for me, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our next speaker is Dorothy Meyer, and on deck is Marjorie Johnson.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Dorothy Mayhew from Rise Above It Family Church.
You know, I forgot.
Greetings to each of you in your respective places. I'm here to, on behalf of Rise Above It Family Church, Dr. Warren Jackson in Holly Hill, Florida. He's at this time, we're beginning to celebrate his 16th pastoral anniversary starting next week on a Wednesday, which is the 24th, which we will have Pastor Chatwood from Palm Coast, Florida, Dr. Janie Rogers on that Thursday night from Free Will Holiness Church here in Daytona. And on Friday night, we'll be having our 3rd annual gala. And I'm extending an invitation on behalf of Dr. Jackson for the mayor, vice mayor, and all of the commissioners and whomever else would love to participate at the gala, to attend the gala, to help celebrate his 16th pastoral anniversary. The tickets are $50, and you are welcome. And if you can let me know by Friday at 12 o'clock, I'm leaving some information with this beautiful young lady here. And in there is the information. And also we have our one and only great speaker, one of your very own, Commissioner Juanita May. She will be our speaker for the hour. So please come out and support my pastor and support one of your colleagues. We're looking forward for this great event. This is on Friday, the 26th, which is next week. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Ms. Mayhew, here,
Yes.
I am.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir.
Ms. Mayhew, I won't be here either. I won't be here either, but I'm willing to buy a ticket so that somebody who would like to come, who can't afford to come, may be able to come.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll get back with you on probably. Who should I contact? Everybody, just one person maybe, or?
The clerk's
everybody?
office.
You need to contact my office. And Vanessa, will you go grab her one of my cards from out front? Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. When I said we was having a dynamic speaker, Commissioner Juanita May, I didn't hear any applauses.
Miss Johnson.
I want to extra 30 seconds too. I'm here tonight to discuss what's going on here at this county, the city of Daytona Beach. I am very appalled, and so is a lot of the residents, that you are adjourning the meetings, and I feel that it's unlawful, it's discriminatory, and it's disrespectful to adjourn the city commission meeting and let the taxpaying residents and voters speak after adjournment. Everyone knows when you adjourn something, it is over. And so no other cities are doing this, not Port Orange, not Holly Hill, not South Daytona, not Ponce Inlet. The school board is not doing it. The county, they do come forth and speak at the beginning of the meeting and afterwards. And so I would just like to say that the county is doing an outstanding job, and I'd like to give high accolades to Billy Wheeler, she's always accessible to her constituents. We don't have that here in the city of Daytona Beach. And also Ben Johnson, who appointed me to the library board, and now we have a black director up at City Owl, something that we never had, and I got the hours extended and them to open on Saturday. And Ben Johnson and the entire county council voted for me to be on that board. We just had a big workshop on Monday. We was there from 10 o'clock to 2. And our leader, Lucinda Cole, she's doing an outstanding job. I also like to say that what we are concerned about mostly here in Daytona is not all these meetings that you're having around at the churches and different places. We are concerned about these streets being paved and these sidewalks being put down in Midtown, and that's not happening. I drove down by the Army the other day, and that street was all cracked up all over on Fremont in that area. I'm also concerned about these lawsuits. Sonia Wild sued this city and got over $500,000 for discrimination, for sexual harassment, and she and Thomas Huser is suing this city. So what happened was I got a paper to appear. So Thomas Huser is not happy about all of this disrespect right here.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Norma Bland, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Good evening, Norma Bland, 1324 Imperial Drive, Daytona Beach, Florida. One thing that you all know that I love you dearly, but I'm real rigid and raw. My city is under siege. My city, where I live and love for 70 years, and my mama, age 94, is under siege. There is a brain study of 2,000 juveniles that are scientific challenges to youth decision-making and crime in America at Temple University. Young people don't have the capacity or brain lesions to think like you and I. A lot of crime that's being committed is scientific, and we need to revisit that, okay? Young people do not have a sight plan. I want to say something to the parents. As I said this morning, a young woman came to my house at 8 o'clock because her child had an ankle monitor that he removed twice. They put him back on the street and he shot somebody. I am tired of your disruptive children. I am tired of the disrespect and total disregard for public safety and property damage and the lack of it. You have allowed your children to manifest on our city streets something I can't stand, and that's high crimes and misdemeanors. The law enforcement community is not a public relations babysitting venue for your kids, and I want every mammy, and I'm going to say that literally, and every daddy or sperm donor to understand where I'm coming from. I am tired. My mother 94 years old. I can't even put her mayor in her wheelchair and let her sit outside her door because they speeding up and down 3rd Street. I gotta sit there with my gun in my pocket because I'm scared they might start shooting like they did on Berkshire. I mean, and this is out of control. Facial recognition. We need to consider it. Somebody needs to review it. We don't have to chase them, but if we get that facial recognition, then we already know who and what they are. I am not going to be held hostage in my city. And it's going to get hot. I talk to the young kids on the street. I ain't scared to go to the house. Look at your daddy's house, shot up with 9 bullets, and you shot in the foot. Stupid. You know, this is ridiculous. The police department, you do a fantastic job. I took my nephew out to the STEM program today. He walked in Jakari Young's office. He said, "Oh my God, that's a black man. He 8 years old." He said, "Auntie, look at that big old office." Good. Now you want to be a police officer.
Thank you,
instead of
Ms.
a
Bland.
thug.
I'm sorry.
But I'm very compassionate. We got to do something. If it's a mental health issue, we need to address it because I'm packed.
Mrs. Hurd, Mrs. Hurd.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is John Birch.
Watch her. I'm scared of her.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. I'm not going to shout. I'll just mention a couple of items. One, 5 months we go into the census. I haven't heard anything about the census. We did a big deal 10 years ago. Not doing anything this year. I think we really should consider looking at that. Secondly, Juvenile Assessment Center, the Jack Center. I really think it'd be a good idea. You heard it. We need to do something. And if this really helps in the long run, because you don't really want to tag a young kid with something for the rest of his life, because they're not really, sorry about it, that bright at that age. You were young once too. You did something stupid. I did something stupid. All right? They're going to do it. So let's not tag them for the rest of life if we don't have to. 4 COP licenses. That's the liquor licenses, Juanita. We have 2 of them. Dirty Harry's has 1, and Good Hill Saloon. They're the only ones. About 10 years ago, I think, we changed the rules on Main Street. If you have $10,000 worth of kitchen equipment, we won't check whether you have the sales. All right? So all they have to have is $10,000. We're not even enforcing that. So that's where that stands. First Step Shelter. The other cities joined with the idea that there would be a Pottinger compliant location. They came with the idea that this shelter would have that location. They're donating their funds. They're on this committee, the mayors and managers of those cities. It should have a location. And lastly, Jim, we've got, I think, 5 managers in the neighborhood, school manager, South Daytona, whatever, that are retiring. Please give us enough time, because I know you're up there. You're close to my age. So if you're going to retire, give us at least a year's warning so that we can, do a search. Thank you much.
Our next speaker is Mr. John Birch.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. How you all doing? Praise the Lord. Giving honor to God, who's the first head of my life. Now, I got to go here. First of all, I want to tell the mayor and the chief, I enjoyed my one-day stay at the jailhouse for trespassing. So I had a nice time. I had it very good. Now, I'll be back. Now, my issue is that the police chief ain't doing a good job because I have a rebellious son. See, and I'm gonna smile, but I'm sick. See, I have that type of son that I had to call in on. He wants us through the pot. Yes, he works, but he wanted to do what he wanted to do. And every time I call the police officers out there, guess what they do? They arrest me or tell me I'm the guy that got the bad attitude. So I done got to learn how to adjust to all of this because it is crime. And our kids, dads, where are the dads? I come here, I talk about my brother, I talk about certain things, but I also talk about the love of my mother. I talk about the love of 836. I have 1/10 of that property. Even though I'm not on the deed, I'll go back to jail for 1 more check. All I'm trying to say, y'all here, I've had to learn how to let God use me to where I can help people in my community. Because see, I love mine. And no matter what you say, the shootings that happen, no matter what you say, they are our kids. And that's not affecting how many lives that has to go down now for what, 15 to life? But now that's a young lady, that's the babies, that's everybody. So guess where I'm headed now? I'm headed to the church house. Why don't we have a citywide with Dr. Durham and the other pastors where we can bring the drug dealers, we can bring everybody together and let them know that we love them. See, y'all talk about guns. She got a gun, he got a gun. I don't want to get me a gun. So we all have a shootout. But why we can't talk about love? Why we don't read the Bible?
I love my God.
Why? We can love all we want, but then we got the pistol ready to shoot if we don't do it. But if our child got in trouble, we do all we could to get our child out, who hung out with the other 5 people. So the other 4 get that time, and their child get off. So what we need to talk about doing more is come together in our black community, and instead of the churches divided, I went there. Why don't we come together and ask the drug dealers, the parents, everybody, let's come together at the park outside. Praise the Lord. I'll be back, Chief. God bless you all. What you
I have Mr. Skip Hammers that signed up, but I don't see him in the audience. Okay. Our next speaker is Patricia Hurd, and on deck is Ann Ruby.
What are you going to say?
Late.
Good afternoon. Tricia Hurd, 822 Furnace Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. I really don't know where to start. There's so much to say. But first of all, I would like to say 20 years ago or more, when all these hoodies came out, I told the principal and others they're not to wear them on campus, and especially to my office or anywhere. And that is what is going on now. It's a hiding place. That's what it is. But you know what? I want you to know, and you know it too, that all of those boys out there with 32 teeth, gold teeth and all that, they respect me. When they wear their pants down and they see me, they respect me. Now, going back to the code enforcement and keeping the city property maintained, you're right, we need to keep maintaining the city property. But I'm concerned about my zone and all around. Right? Right. And I can show you pictures on my phone about houses still have tops on them from 3 years ago, whether they brown, blue, or what, and other trash, cars, and everything in the yards. If it's not paved, I thought it didn't supposed to be there. Maybe we need to hire more code enforcement officers. So I don't have nothing bad to say about my code enforcement officers because I love them. I really do. Yes, I have a relationship with all of y'all here, even with Mr. Chisholm, right, Mr. Chisholm? Right. Okay, vendor's fee. Now, vendor's fee, we pay what is to be paid. And you don't know how much those people are making. You might see people out there, but they are not buying or anything like that, some of them. And my thing, talking about vendor's fee, how can I get money from the city when I stay in the city to put on an affair when people that live in Port Orange and everywhere can come here and get money? I want someone to answer that, but not now because I have 8 seconds. I am so glad to hear that there are girls on the run and everything. I'm in the process of writing a 501(c)(3). They have asked me time after time to bring my program back that I had in school. Girls, girls, girls.
Thank you, ma'am. Time's up.
Girls, innovative, realistic learning skills. Have a good day. Good morning, Chief.
Rest her. Our next speaker is Ann Ruby, and on deck is Doyle Lewis.
Hi, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. I have two topics tonight. One on following rules. In redevelopment areas, there are a separate set of guidelines, requirements for properties. It covers things like the view into the buildings, the appearance of the facade, the condition of a vacant lot, the condition of a parking lot. It is required, it says right there in the rules, that it needs continuous inspection by the redevelopment department. And I don't think that's happening because none of those rules are being enforced. So I would suggest that you either move those requirements into code enforcement, which is doing a fantastic job, or that you require the redevelopment department to come and report every month at CodeStat on what they have been inspecting and what they have found. Because if you want MMB, Main Street, Beach Street, you want them to look great, those rules need to be enforced, and there's no enforcement mechanism in there right now. So I really think that needs to change. On second topic is the First Step Shelter. The board is extremely frustrated, and I think part of the condition, Judge Schuman gave a presentation, and she made it very clear that you need the safe zone to be Pottinger compliant. And like John said, that safe zone, that expectation of Pottinger compliance is one of the partnered donating cities. And it is, if you sit through the entire meeting at a First Step Shelter Board, you will be clear on what's happening and why there's a disconnect, why there's a confusion. And I would strongly suggest that the commission and the board workshop, up until the opening of the shelter, workshop together every month so that you can have your commission meetings, the board can have their meetings, but you all need to probably meet together once a month until this commission opens, because the shelter opens. Because otherwise, nobody's going to know what's happening. Nobody's going to know. I go to all those meetings and sit through the entire meeting, and I can tell you there's a lot of, I can't say it's misinformation, there's a lot of confusion on who's doing what people want, getting things done. And the board is being left in the dark down there in that room 149B. So they really, really need some clarity, and I think you need at least one workshop with them so you can hear what they want. Thank you.
Our final speaker tonight is Doyle Lewis.
Good evening, Doyle Lewis, Daytona Beach. Boy, I'm glad I came tonight. We're talking about a safe zone. There was one put up in 2016, August. That was the first one there. It's not far from the colleges, both colleges over there on Clyde Morris and International Speedway. It was never a safe zone. And if I got this right, 10C is about that location. It says it's west of Clyde Morris and Bellevue Extension. There's been people residing on that property that's contaminated since August of 2016. There's no way for you to count them because they come in after dark and they leave before sunrise. So when you go out there during the day, you cannot get a count of how many homeless there is. That's my very first strong point on facts. Number two, putting a safe zone beside the First Step Shelter is completely absurd. They're living in the trees a lot of times because they want to be there. And then they use it back and forth with the ones that are inside. So you got to separate the bad homeless from the good homeless. The ones that are outside, if they say no, they're not going to go in the building, and you can't make them. As far as mental illness, Baker Act them. Let the doctor take care of that mental illness part. The building's across the street. That's the way y'all set it up. That's a fact. If you don't believe me, go out there. There are brand new buildings right across from it. Food services. That's part of health. You need good food at the safe zone, not jail food. You also need parking for people in need. I've had my cars taken 7 times in 6 years around Flagler County and Volusia County. Got 2 of them back. They just took the last 2. Now I'm carless for the first time since I started driving when I was like 7 years old. We used to own the land I drove on. You ever hit a terrace? Man, I didn't even get through half of them. God bless.
Meeting is now adjourned. Good night, Daytona Beach. What a city we live in.